So what I'm doing here is going through my Twitter threads I updated throughout the year of 2024 and all the media I consumed. There's going to be 4 threads in total. There's movies, TV shows, video games, and books and podcasts. Books and podcasts are in the same category because I can't see books. And because I can't see books, I strictly listen to audiobooks. So books and podcasts are in that same category for that reason. And I'm going to see if my opinion has altered or changed entirely since I've engaged with the media. After reading after reading what I originally wrote and giving some more thought about it, I'll either regrade it to what I think it is now or keep it to the exact same score I originally gave it, if I still think it's valid. I go by a simple 1 out of 10 score to make things as easy to understand as possible, but I do add a 0.5 in there if it sits between 2 different scores, and I'm rather indecisive at times, so that might happen a good bit. There is one rule I should mention. I will subtract a score by 0.5 automatically if I barely remember anything about it, because if it wasn't memorable enough, it probably doesn't deserve the original score I gave it. Though, to be fair, I do have an awful memory at times, and because most of the movies and shows I watched were enjoyed in the late hours of the night between 1 and 3 a.m., I think it's fair to say I may forget a few things here and there. Alright, so we're going to start off with the movie thread. Alright, so what I do is I do a little bit of a thread reviewing the initial thread before I start the thread, if that makes sense. It's so here's the thread of my movie 2024. I was like, a lot of my time was sucked up by college this year, so I did not watch nearly as many movies as I did last year, which was a little disappointing. But you know, it is what it is. I still watched a good bit. There's no denying that, especially at the beginning of the year. I was blasting through movies, and then it just kind of died down drastically. So we'll go ahead and hop into it. The first movie I watched was The Boy and the Heron. I'm sorry, I am the number one hater of this movie, apparently. I don't genuinely hate it, but it was just such a letdown of a film, I guess. I don't know what else to go by it. It wasn't bad by any means. It was just kind of like, everyone was just praising it like this masterclass of film, and then when I finally got around to I watched it like, I think I watched it January 1st. Yeah, I watched it on January 1st. I watched it, and I was just like, it was okay. It was really good. It was really pretty, but the everything about it was just boring. Like the story. I love ridiculous stories. If you know the movie Suzume, about the guy who gets turned into a chair, and then the girl has to. I don't remember the full story, but the guy gets turned into a chair for 90% of the movie, and I ate that up. That was great. The Boy and the Heron wasn't interesting to me. This is gonna be wrong, and it's been a full year since I've watched it, so cut me some slack. But it kind of had like an Alice in Wonderland vibe to it, to the sense that the world was just kind of insane, and that means. And I don't inherently dislike that, but I didn't care enough about it to say it was just masterclass of film. Everything about it was great. I just didn't like it. It was a 7 out of 10. Even though I just hated the crap out of that, I'm still gonna keep it a 7 out of 10 because I can't deny it was not a bad movie by any means. I just didn't like it. Okay, I actually watched this with I watched this with a group of friends a while ago. Like, I think this was like, yeah, it was like 5 days later. It was like a movie I'd watched with my dad or something. Like, this is just, it was okay. It was a military movie. I don't care about these in the slightest. I was just there to hang out with people. It was kind of funny, and I can acknowledge that there was like, it was cool that they clearly did their research on what was realistic about this in the sense of how things were. But other than that, I don't remember anything about it. I'm gonna drop it down to a 4.5. Still a good movie. I'm sure people love it for a reason, but it's just not for me. So Dungeons and Dragons, this movie, I don't play D&D at all. Don't know really the first thing about it. I tried playing D&D years ago with friends. It just kind of fell apart. I could never get an actual game to go because of reasons. This was a good movie. Even without any of the knowledge of the world involved in it, it was funny. It was action-packed. It was interesting. Like, I enjoyed all the characters. I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember a lot about it. I want to just give it up to, it was about a year ago is why. It was like, I don't know. It was like, I enjoyed it. That's all I can really say about it. I definitely want to see the sequel that they supposedly have in the works. I don't know if that was ever confirmed or not. But nonetheless, like, I'm going to see the sequel if they make it. The 7.5, even though I don't remember a lot about it, I I don't know. I feel like I'm already breaking my rule really early there if I do that. I'm gonna drop it down to a 7 just because I don't remember it. It's not because it wasn't memorable. That's because of bad memory. But just to keep consistent with my rules, it's a 7 out of 10. Still a great film. Really recommend watching it, whether you're D&D or not. Maybe if you are D&D into D&D, maybe you'll dislike this movie a whole lot more. But just as a casual watcher of it, I enjoyed it. I liked it. I don't like rated R movies. I don't like extremely vulgar films or anything like that. But I decided because the new Ted show came out, I was like, hey, I'll watch through the Ted movies to see how I feel about them now. Because I remember not liking the first one, even when I first saw it, which I shouldn't have seen it when I saw it. But I watched it. It sucked. It was not good. I remember a few parts here and there to where it was only when like comical violence happened with the slapstick was it ever funny. Any of the actual jokes told were just stupid or like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm talking to a 15-year-old in 2012. It hurt that bad. But overall, like the whole comedic story is, hey, cute teddy bear says swear words, drinks, and does drugs. Comedy gold. No, not even a little bit. It was so unfunny. But it is funny watching teddy bear punch a grown man in face. That's always a good time. The 3.5, I remember it for the most part, so I think that 3.5 is still valid. 3.5 out of 10. I know this is opinion that almost no one will agree with me with, but I liked Ted 2 a lot more than Ted 1. It has all the exact same problems that the first movie had, but I think there was a few jokes here and there that were a little more funny, and it did follow that, oh, I'm super generic sequel. Like, you could tell they were phoning it in a little bit, but I don't know why. I just found it a bit more fun. It was a little funnier. Even though I can tell you it was still a worse off movie in almost every way, I still liked it more. What else did I say? I found the story's a lot more engrossing. I don't know if I'd stick with that opinion or not. I would say it has more heart. It felt like there was a bit more. They were trying to tug on the emotional heartstrings a bit more. I'm gonna stick with that 5. 4.5. No, I'm gonna stand my ground and stick with a 5. It's a very average movie. I just like watching the realistic teddy bear walk around. Honestly, CGI for back then, like he looked like he belonged there. It did not look out of place. It was impressive with how nice it looked. And the chemistry between I forget the guy's name, to be honest, but that's gonna be almost every movie I watch. Ted and this guy, they had good chemistry. I liked them. I've never seen this movie before. Oh, by the way, that is one thing I will say. With every piece of media I consume, I will put rewatched or replayed, whatever the context is, on if I have rewatched or something or not. So just be aware of that. So Ants, I thought this was going to be, I don't know why I put this movie off for years. I thought it was like, oh, it's another Bug's Life. It just happened to come out around the same time, I believe. I put it off and put it off and put it off. I don't know what triggered it, but I just wanted to, I was like, I want to watch Ants for some reason. I think I saw it like going off of Netflix or something like that. And I watched it. I was like, holy crap, this was like a good movie. Like it was a little more adult than I was expecting. Like they straight up swear like very casually, not like a lot in the movie, but they just do it. Like it doesn't feel like weird, like you're watching a kid's movie and they randomly say a swear word. No, it was like, it was just felt like it was a part of the world, which was interesting, especially for an older movie like this. Outside of that, it was still told an interesting story. I liked all the characters. This is a movie I would rewatch. I think that 7.5, I would almost push it to an 8, but because the story is a little fuzzy on me, not to the point of dropping down points, but it's a little fuzzy, I'm gonna keep it that 7.5. That's a valid for Ants. I bought this movie at a thrift store. I just wanted to own some weird, like I have the entire 2012 Ninja Turtle series on DVD. I just saw this at the thrift store. I was like, you know what? I know this isn't part of the bundle pack. I just want to own it because it's there. I found it for like 25 cents. I was going to pick it up. It's a goofy kids movie. I've seen it before too. It was nice to watch them 2D animated. That's kind of where it drops off. I'm going to drop it down to a 6. Because I just didn't like this movie. It was very forgettable. I mean, it wasn't, okay, I'm being too harsh. I did like it. Yeah, the 2012 series, like, I watched it because it was 2012. I wish the 2012 series itself got a movie instead of these goofy, like, preschool cartoon shows. I liked it because the 2D animation was nice. It looked good for what it was. And the 2012 series surprisingly translates pretty well to the art style of the 2D art style, I mean. Yeah, I'm still going to drop it down to a 6 out of 10. Good, but not great. Zoom. I'm gonna drop this down to a 4 automatically. I remember jack squat about this movie. It's essentially like Sky High, but not taking place in a school. It had that cheesy charm of a 2000s movie, but even in the 2000s movie, you could tell that this was like wasn't good. It was fun though. It had like I've never seen it before, and I still felt nostalgic for it, which I think is I felt nostalgic for the era. I guess it had very much that feeling of the era it was out in. So I guess it's still valid in that way. You could watch it if you wanted to feel good about the 2000s. And the soundtrack was slapping. I loved a lot of the soundtrack. But, not a movie I would recommend going out of your way to watch unless you grew up with it. I feel like that's the only way you could genuinely like it. I don't know how to say this movie. I think it's I can't see it. The font's too small, but I think it's Mobaroshi. This was a good movie. Like it was a little out there, but for what it was a movie worth watching. Like if you like anime movies, if you can handle the kind of weirdness that comes from anime movies, it's a good watch. I would recommend it. It does get a little messy here and there. I don't really have a lot to say about it. It's just you gotta watch it to fully understand what it's about. And I don't want to say because I feel like I'll spoil it. So I'm going to keep that 8.5 out of 10. Go watch Mabarashi if you can. It's a good watch. I'll be honest, I literally just watched this for John Cena in it because I saw him acting like a complete baboon in it. I thought that was funny. Ricky Stenicki was an insanely forgettable film that just like it felt like they were trying to be edgy, but they weren't willing to commit to the bit. And the edginess lost all its edge because they weren't willing to push it. And like it was also just ignoring the lack of funny in the edgy comedy that they were trying to go for. It was just it was very generic. I felt like it was a kid's cartoon plot that I've seen. Just now they swear and drink, and I was like, I mean, obviously it's set in real life as well. It just wasn't all that good, to be honest. Not worth the watch. It was bleh at best. I'm gonna drop this down to a 4.5 because it was just insanely forgettable, and the more you think about it, it's not worth remembering. Keeping that up in your brain, gross. 4.5 out of 10. I watched this because, of course, this was right when Akira Toriyama passed away. I was just like, man, I really want to watch Dragon Ball now, just to kind of get in that vibe again of watching old school. I love OG Dragon Ball, so this was literally just I don't remember how many arcs it covered, but it was a good chunk of the OG Dragon Ball arcs, all condensed into I want to say like an hour 30-minute, maybe 20-minute movie. I don't remember exactly, but it was fun. It was nice. It was a good refresher to kind of see like, oh man, I really want to go back and rewatch OG Dragon Ball, but I don't want to watch 100+ episodes. I'll just watch the movies that kind of retell the story. It was good. I enjoyed it. It was fun to just kind of see those characters going again. It was a good retelling, I'd say. And R.I.P. Gosh, R.I.P. Toriyama. It sucks. 7 out of 10. I'll definitely keep that rating. That's a good one. If you want to watch OG Dragon Ball but can't bring yourself to watch the whole cartoon or the whole OG anime, watch this. Watch this movie at least. I think there's a couple more that retell parts of the story as well. I don't know, but this is the one I watched. Kung Fu Panda 4. I am a massive hater of this movie. This movie sucked in every way. Like, you know how Hollywood just loves to just take parts of your childhood and see how they can tear it down best they can by like just completely destroying the original characters or not even including them. That's what this movie was. The Furious Five being, I think there's the Furious, okay, never mind, sorry, the Furious Five aren't in here, but the Furious Five, they literally, like, so many people complained about the movie not having the Furious Five in it. They literally are like, hey, let's quickly just pump out a end credit scene with them in it so we can say that they're in the movie and use them as promo stuff. It was total bullcrap. Total clickbait kind of thing. The movie was forgettable. They obliterated the characters. They destroyed Poe as like learning. Well, I kind of liked his lesson of learning. the lesson he learned. Sorry, I can't talk. I kind of like that. That was interesting. I'm trying to become a leader and all that. That was cool. The character that was voiced by Aquafina, did not like her at all. She was just such a blank slate, boring character, and she was like, she didn't feel naturally put in there. She also just stuck out like a sore thumb art style wise. Just altogether, it's best to remember the Kung Fu Panda movies as 1, 2, and 3, and act like 4 never happened. You're just better off that way. This movie is a 5 out of 10. Partly because very forgettable also. I would lower it more, but I feel like I'm being a little unfair to that. It's also just me being a massive hater. I'm going 5 out of 10 on Kung Fu Panda 4. Me and some family members, we went and saw, they did a whole, I don't remember what movie it was celebrating, but they did a whole re-release of all the Spider-Man movies in the theaters. They were like, oh, here's the Tobey Maguire movies 1 through 3. Here's the Andrew Garfield movies, 1 and 2, and then here's the Tom Holland movies. I'm so upset because I missed all the Tobey Maguire movies because of college crap going on. But me and my family, we made it to the we made it to all the other Spider-Man movies. So that's kind of like consistently what I watched for the next few movies. I remember hating The Amazing Spider-Man when I was a kid. I was like, holy crap, that was the most disrespectful garbage of a movie ever. I thought this was complete trash. But going back and rewatching, I've seen it a couple times before, I believe. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm going to say I haven't just because I can't remember another time I've watched it. But from the first time I saw it as a kid, hated it, to now, I'm like, wait a second. This is kind of awesome in a lot of great ways. There was great cinematography. The story was interesting. It wasn't my favorite kind of story for Spider-Man, but it was still overall good. I will continue to say this till the end of time, that Andrew Garfield was a fantastic Spider-Man, but his Peter Parker was absolute dookie. And it wasn't his fault. He's just too cool to be Peter, Like, Peter's supposed to be a nerd loser dork, not some freaking skater bro dude who's just too cool, but for some reason he's an ultra mega nerd at the same time. Like, no, you can't do that. Peter Parker's a nerd, not a skater bro. Still, I really like this movie. 8 out of 10. I'm gonna keep that. I think that's valid. I almost finished the Konosuba series, and I was watching it through chronological order, and that's why I watched the Konosuba movie sucked. It just felt like it was a long-winded episode. It wasn't anything special. Like, I mean, there was a bigger animation budget, and that was kind of it. I'm dropping it to a 5. I would drop it to a 4.5, but I literally remember nothing about it besides like a few gags here and there that weren't very funny, and then the ending scene because the animation was awesome. Yeah, it's a 5 out of 10 kind of movie. Very forgettable. I kind of just feel like I like the series to like a very below average. Oh gosh, it turned on. Sorry, I turned on my Xbox 360. I was talking with my hands. It was good, but it wasn't good enough to deserve the praise, or it wasn't good enough to receive the praise that it got from people, in my opinion. It's just kind of whatever, So The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I'm gonna kind of ruin myself here a bit. For the longest time, I had the mindset that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was the far superior movie to the first one, and everyone was just big haters because I'm like, man, like, Spider-Man 2 was kind of clunky, and like, I feel like thinking over it now, and the more time, it's like, yeah, like, just seeing things pointed out to me, I'm like, yeah, that was actually really stupid. I still really like Spider-Man 2, and on ignoring the rating level, I like Spider-Man 2 or The Amazing Spider-Man 2 over Amazing Spider-Man 1. But on a rating it level, I'm gonna have to drop it down to a 7.5. I think when I gave it that 8 out of 10, I was being stubborn, and I just didn't want to let go of the fact that I like Spider-Man 2 more than Amazing Spider-Man 1. But I'm gonna drop it to a 7.5 because I feel like I was being disingenuous. A lot of people would rank it way lower than that, and I understand why, but I don't care. I still think Amazing Spider-Man 2 is just a much more entertaining film, even though there was a lot of flaws with it, especially with Electro, and just I feel like, honestly, I kind of want to drop it down to a 7 just for the fact that we never got a third film, but that's unfair to this movie as a whole. So yeah, 7.5 out of 10 is my final rating for Amazing Spider-Man 2. Guys, I love Regular Show. Regular Show is legit one of my favorite cartoons. I constantly will just go back and rewatch episodes. I rewatched this for research purposes for a video I'm working on, but Oh man, I was so devastated when this movie came out and it sucked. It's so boring. Like it felt like I don't know, Jake. I think it's JQ Quintel. Quintel, he just dropped the ball on this movie. It was like it felt like they were just going for the most generic storytelling possible. Like they did not want to commit to being original for some reason. It's like that's so weird to me though, because regular show as a whole is original across the board in almost every way. Like yeah, they do parodies and they take from a lot of older stuff, of course, but like they do it in a unique way, and this movie just did not do that at all. It was so boring. It felt rushed. It could have benefited a lot from having like 30 minutes longer, kind of leading into it. It felt breakneck speeds to just blech. I feel like I only gave it a 5 out of 10 because I love regular show so much. I don't want to give anything regular show related below a 5, honestly. And out of pure stubbornness, I'm not going to. And I feel like later, when you see my other reviews and when we get later down the line, you'll understand why. Yeah, 5 out of 10 for regular show. Okay, if I saw this with my family, because like this is just a family movie, I didn't really have much. I had a little bit of interest in it. It had a lot of good qualities that did not sum up to a good movie. I'm taking way too long on this, so I'm going to try and speed it up a bit. It's a fun movie to watch with family, and like it has nice CGI, cute little story, but it was not great. A very average film. I'm going to keep that 5 out of 10 for If. Spider-Man Homecoming, not a big fan of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I'm just going to be straightforward with it. I don't think he's bad. I think he's a good Peter Parker, but he is not, and he could be a great Spider-Man if the Marvel writers let him be, but they just don't let him, and it sucks because I think he could be great. The humor was like, I remember this movie being funnier when I first saw it. It was not funny. It was so stupid. Like, oh my gosh, like, you know how you can tell when a millennial is writing something, or at least like is getting to that when they're trying too hard to reach that demographic. It's like millennials write a very specific way, and it's harmful to the movie industry and just any TV, movies, whatever. Like they have a very specific way of writing, and it sticks out like a sore thumb. Not all of them, of course, because that's just too much of a generalization. But when it comes to Hollywood writing, you can point it out from a mile away. It was like, I don't know. I still like Homecoming. It was an okay film. I'm gonna keep that 6 out of 10 because I don't know. It's like it. The MCU Spider-Man movies as a whole just feel so empty to me. They don't feel like they have character and love put into them. They feel like they're more of a puzzle piece putting together the MCU more than a genuine love for the character almost. Because, and I know there's a lot of factors that go into that with the Sony deal and the Disney and a bunch of legal bull crap. So ignoring that, the movie as a whole just isn't very Spider-Man to me, and I don't like it that much. I love Ned though. Ned's hilarious. Well, not in this movie, but Ned as a character is hilarious. The quintessential quintuplets, I rewatched the anime, we'll go into that later, but the movie was genuinely, like, it was so well done. Like, I've seen this before, I saw it in theaters. It was such a well done movie, and, like, without saying spoilers, I wasn't too happy with the way it ended, or who the main girl ended up with, or sorry, not the main girl, who the protagonist ended up with. I understand it more after a rewatch, but I'm still not happy about it. You know, but it was a good movie. It was a very interesting way they went about it, because they kept retelling the story from like not different POVs, but like how it would play out. Like, what would happen if he chose this girl? It plays out this way. Oh, what happens if he chose this girl? It plays out this way. But then when they finally get to the girl that he ends up with, it plays out like the proper way. And I like that. I think that was really cool. It was a unique way of telling a romance anime, a romance story. 8.5 out of 10. I'm gonna keep that. I think it was really good. I love this movie. This is a weird movie, and strangely, just with the way the world is going, is almost a believable outcome to what happens. Basically, this guy falls in love with an AI, and is I don't know, it's a very good movie. It's believable. I could see it becoming a reality in a sad way almost. I don't know if I'd ever recommend people to watch this, to be honest. It's a good movie. It's just not something. It was uncomfortable to watch almost, and it was a very, very slow burn. Not in like a negative sense. Slow burns aren't inherently a bad thing, in my opinion. It was a movie, if you can handle that kind of thing, worth watching. I don't remember a lot, to be honest, though. There was a few key moments that were like really uncomfortable, purposely uncomfortable. They were effective in that means. Like they knew what they were doing. They did a good job on it. Don't know if I can keep that 8 out of 10 just because of memorability. I'm gonna drop it to a 7.5 out of 10. Still a great movie, just wasn't all that memorable for me. But I think I also watched this at like 4 in the morning. Yeah, I finished it at 4:18, so I'm gonna chalk it up to me just forgetting it because I watched it so late at night and it's like a 2.5 hour movie or something. In Time had such a great premise. I am genuinely, I'm gonna say mad that they wasted such an awesome idea on such a generic story. Like the idea of people having to essentially survive off of the time inside, like the time was a currency in this world, and to live longer, or to essentially be able to live, there was a lot of people in the slums essentially who had like maybe a day or 2 days, and they had to constantly work and work and work to barely get a few more hours to survive, while the wealthy were like living on like 200 years kind of deal, to where they could easily spare, and you could like give people time, like just like money, you could go up to them, give them your time. And it was such an awesome premise that was totally wasted on such a generic story. I'd love to see them take this movie, not remake it because it couldn't be done. Like with how generic the story was, it could not be remade properly. But I want someone to make like a sequel or a spiritual successor, I guess. I don't know if that works in the terms of movies, but I want someone to take this exact idea and write a good movie with it. It almost had like a Robin Hood vibe to it that just kind of fell flat. Honestly, the premise alone is worth the watch for this movie. I would recommend watching it still. I'm gonna drop it to a 6 out of 10 because I'm just, the premise being so great for how horribly written it is genuinely upsets me. So I'm dropping it to a 6 out of 10. But I still legit recommend watching this just because the concept is so interesting. And like maybe if I recommend somebody to watch this, they'll get the idea and take it further and write their own story that could be way better. Almost every Planet of the Apes movie I've seen, I have thoroughly enjoyed. This one, definitely not excluded. This was a great movie. It was so much fun to watch. The CGI was just wild. It looked so good. And it had a few generic and predictable moments. It was like, it was like almost unavoidable to an extent, but it was very good. I don't have a lot to say. It was just a great movie. You should watch it. 8 out of 10. I'm gonna keep that final. I gotta speed this up. We are on 23 out of 60 movies. I'm gonna start picking this up a bit. Spider-Man Far From Home. I used to think this was a much, like, I legit thought when I first watched this, I was like, this may be my favorite Spider-Man movie. This was so freaking good. On the rewatch, not even a little bit. I was like, why did I like this so much? It was so just, I want to say almost worse than Homecoming. It wasn't, because the action was really good, and I really liked the villain. The twist was a little it was boringly predictable, but it's like whatever. It was still fun, and it was better than Homecoming, but at the same time it wasn't. It was like it was funnier. I'll give it that. It was way funnier. Overall, it's better than Homecoming, but mainly through comedy, and I don't know. It's like the more I watch the Tom Holland movies, the less I like them. I'm gonna stick to that 7 out of 10. It's like, there was a few quirky, cute moments, but it wasn't enough to save this movie from being anything but a 7 out of 10. And then Spider-Man No Way From Home. I mean, this is the best out of the Tom Holland movies. And you know why? Because Toby and Andrew were here. Am I saying that out of a complete nostalgia bias? I want to say no. I don't think I am. I'm gonna drop this to a 7 out of 10, to be honest, because it just, I really wish they filmed this during 2020, which was just a horrible time. I get it, they were trying to make a ton of money, that was the whole idea, and it was a great way to do that because it apparently worked with $1 billion+ in the theater. But it would have benefited so much if they just let it come out a little later, to where they could have filmed it with less restrictions. And they could have done so much more with it. It suffered too much from the restrictions, and it just, I felt like Andrew and Toby were introduced way too late into the movie. Like, I get it, they had a lot of build up, and the build up was good, but Andrew and Toby, like, that was the huge selling point of that movie, and they took way too long to get there. And when they did get there, it felt like they were more of a means to push the story forward, and as not clickbait, but as in, like, they were just there to, you know, get fans hyped, and that was kind of it. I feel like the movie was just kind of a hype movie. Ignoring all the nostalgia bait for a second, it was just kind of okay. I'm dropping it to a 7 out of 10. I feel like I'm probably contradicting what I wrote on the tweet itself, to be honest, and I probably am. But I don't know. It's like the more I have time to sit on these movies, I'm like, it's clearly nostalgia bait that could have been so much better if they wanted to actually put in the effort and wait. But, you know, Hollywood's not going to do that. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I still really enjoyed it. I'm crapping all over it, but it really was not that bad. I just think it could have been so much better. You know what? Actually, I'm rating this unfairly. I'm rating off of what it could have been instead of what it was. Let me scratch what I just said. It's a good movie. It just... not all of what I said, because some of what I said was still valid. Like the fact that they underused Toby and Andrew, and they brought them in way too late. There's just it could have been done so much better, and they did not do what could have been done, I think. Overall, I'm going to drop it to a 7.5 out of 10. I think that's a good in-between, instead of me being unfairly, oh, it didn't do this and didn't do that. It did what it did do. It was still a 7.5 out of 10, I think. Josie the Tiger and the Fish. This was a weird movie. I was kind of hoping it would be a little cuter than it was. It kind of, I don't know, it was like it was a romance movie, but it felt like it kind of it took too long to get to that point, to where it was slow, and it was like, yeah, it was kind of do that build up, but then when it got to the point to where, like, oh, these are romantic feelings, it just happened. Like, it snapped to it, instead of like it didn't feel like it progressed properly. Like, they cut a few scenes that should have, like, led them into liking each other more. Sorry, that is kind of a spoiler. I should have said that. I'm gonna keep that 7.5 though. My opinion's not changed too deeply on that. 7.5 out of 10. I literally just watched this for the YouTuber Ryan Higa, who was in it. It was a cheesy horror movie. It had an interesting premise, but I feel like a 7 out of 10 was very generous for what it was. I do appreciate that it was, no one's gonna agree with me on this topic, but for being I believe it was technically a slasher film, it was very non-gory, and I appreciate that, because I think gore is a very lazy way to tell a horror story. It's more shock factor than genuine fear, and the ideas that were put in place here were very good. I literally watched this movie like 2 or 3 times because I was doing it for a project. It had a lot of flaws that I still enjoyed, but overall, I'm gonna drop it to a 6.5, because it was just the more I technically, this is unfair because the first watch through was a 7 out of 10 for me, but I watched it 2 or 3 times, which dropped it down to a 6.5 for me, because it was just like, the acting was good for the most part, the premise was good, but the execution was not quite there. Okay, this was an interesting movie. Jesus Revolution. I sat down with this like first 15 minutes in. My parents were watching it, and I was like, you know, I'll sit down and watch it with them. I thought it was gonna be like, you know, kind of a, you know, just one of those movies that were just cheesy because it was like, it was selling it just to get grandparents and parents to watch it kind of deal. But no, it was good. It was an interesting movie to see, like, this time period that isn't really talked about all that much, at least from what I've experienced. I've not heard many people talk about it. It was interesting to see this guy's life unfold, see him get this huge ego, and without me going into crazy detail, it was just spoiler range, I guess. I don't know. It was just interesting. Like, I think this is a movie worth watching. Like, religious or not, it's a good movie because it follows an interesting path of a person you would not really expect to see a story have told, I guess. That sounds a little silly, but it makes sense to me. So 7.5 out of 10, I'll keep that. You know what? I am kind of drawing a blank on a lot of it, so I'm going to drop it to a 7 out of 10. Yeah, 7 out of 10. Still a movie I would recommend, though. Inside Out 2 did not deserve $1 billion in the theater by any means at all. I don't understand why or how it made that much money. This movie was poorly paced. The characters, like, not the emotions, but the human character segments were so awkward and clunky. It did not feel good at all. Like, I felt drawn out of the film almost every time it was happening. It happened a lot, which isn't bad necessarily, because they were just doing that to progress the story. It was necessary to tell the story, but it was done in such a boring way. Like, I did not care about this girl doing the thing she did. Like, I don't know, like, I know they were telling, like, technically a slice of life story almost, but it was done in such a boring way. I could not bring myself to care. The writing was boring, the new emotions were boring. It felt like things were cut and chopped up in such a messy way. It just does not deserve the amount of money it made in the box office at all. I'm going to keep that 6.5 out of 10 because it wasn't bad. I'm hating on it, but it genuinely wasn't bad. It just was nowhere near as good as the first movie. 6.5 out of 10, and that's coming from someone who doesn't like the first movie all that much. I like the first movie. I like it, but on a, not a recent rewatch, but a couple years ago rewatch, I didn't like it as much as I originally liked it. So that 6.5 out of 10, I feel like is being kind of generous. Yeah, Inside Out 2 is a 6.5 out of 10. This was an interesting movie. Mr. Harrigan's Phone, I watched this on a whim. I just kind of wanted to watch something spooky. It was an interesting story to see it unfold. Like, it was had a bit of a revenge plot going on. I guess that's technically, I keep saying spoilers, sorry y'all. That's a vague spoiler, so it's okay. But the concept was very interesting. I love the relationship between between the two main characters. It was very nice to watch that unfold, and like, it happened very naturally. It was I don't know, I liked it. It was a good movie. I'd recommend this. It's not a horror movie in the sense of like you're gonna be on the edge of the seat terrified the whole time. It's more unsettling, kind of has like a Twilight Zone vibe to it almost. I'd recommend this one. This was a good movie. 7.5 out of 10 for sure. I wanted to like this movie because I saw the new Bad Boys trailer. I forget what the new Bad Boys movie is called. But I saw that movie. I was like, oh, that looks really good. I should watch the original movies before I watch the new one. So I watched it, and it just was not good. It was boring. I don't know. It felt like it was a part of a TV show to where I was supposed to know these characters already. Like, the movie treated the viewer like we were supposed to know these characters and care about them already. Maybe we were, and I'm missing like a TV show or something like that. But as far as I'm aware, like, as a standalone movie, they treated everyone like I was supposed to know them, and I'm like, I don't know or care about these characters. Why are you making this an emotional scene, or why are you making it when they have to swap places kind of deal? Why are you making this a scene that I should care about? This has no value to me as a viewer. And so it just wasn't very good to me. 6 out of 10. I feel like if I hate on it too much, it's unfair because I don't remember a lot of it. I'm going to drop it down to a 5.5 because it was a very disjointed, crappily edited, and that could have just been the age showing on it, to be fair. I watch older movies a lot, not crazy a lot, but I watch a lot of older movies occasionally. I don't know, it just didn't feel like it flowed very well. So I'm going to drop it to a 5.5 out of 10, mainly due to forgettability of it. Despicable Me 4. Honestly, it was just another Despicable Me movie. I haven't seen the third one, so I'm missing a lot of the in-depth lore that Despicable Me 3 had to offer for 4. That's probably why I was so confused. I wasn't confused at all. It was okay. It was, it was a kids movie. It wasn't low effort by any means, but it was like they were just not phone. I don't know. It was like, that feels unfair to say they were phoning it in because it wasn't bad. It was okay. I don't really have a lot to say about it. I don't remember much about it. Like, I remember the plot and everything that happens, so I'm not going to drop it down a point, but I don't remember any of the humor, really. It was just, things happen. The most memorable part was the part to where the minion gets stuck in the vending machine a lot, and then the ending dance scene was funny because of the song choice. So, I'm going to keep that 6 out of 10 for Despicable Me 4. Ooh, okay. This was such a good movie. I was not expecting something like this to come out of Netflix, of all people. Guys, it has, all right, first off, very strong R rating movie. Do not watch this if you are below an adult age. It's very vulgar, and it does not hold back. But imagine, now, for the adults in the audience, this is a Spider-Verse movie, or it has the style of Spider-Verse. It has that New York vibe, very nice, pretty environment, so much style, and it was just so good. And it told a romance story. I was not expecting them to put so much high effort into a animated romance movie from America of all places. Like, you know, in anime, that's not too unsurprising, but for a Netflix animated romance movie to put so much effort and style into it, it blew my mind. It was so good. Told a great story. The chemistry was there. There was a few segments to where I was like, that's a little stupid, but you know, they got to create conflict. Just, if you're an adult, watch this movie. It's so good. This movie sucks. This was such a bad movie. Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. Oh my gosh. I literally saw this movie at a thrift store. I was like, oh my gosh, I love the box art. It's so cute. Let me watch it. It was so boring. It was just this stupid, like, these guys had very little chemistry. It was clunky. It just did not, it felt vulgar for the sake of being vulgar, because that's just what 2000s quote-unquote comedy movies were a lot of the times. It wasn't clever. It was just, how can we be mean to people? And that's what it was. And that's coming from someone who used to find those funny a lot. Oh, not really, but kind of. No, not really, not much, now that I think about it. Anyways, 5 out of 10. I crapped on it a lot. I did like the soundtrack, though. The soundtrack had a lot of good Scott Pilgrim vibes, so I'm going to keep that 5 out of 10 solely based off of the soundtrack. Okay, so Deadpool and Wolverine, I don't know. This is such an unfair criticism, but I'm sick of multiverse stories. I'm like, and this is making fun of those, so it's kind of unfair to say, but I'm just tired of the theme. I'm tired of that premise. It's been beaten to death, and I know we're not done seeing it anytime soon. But this was a funny movie. I enjoyed the cameos. The thing is, I feel like a movie should not be broken down to, oh, it has really cool cameos. No, that's stupid. Yeah, they were cool to see. The fact that they brought some people back that were just, you would never think to see on the big screen again. But at the same time, I'm like, was the movie good? I mean, like, Wolverine and Deadpool had great chemistry for the most part, you know, as much as they can in the sense of their personalities clashing. It was awesome to see Hugh back in like his actual Wolverine outfit. There was a lot of things that were going on. But at the same time, it was like, I'm gonna keep that 7.5 for now, but you'll see why. And okay, this is exactly why. I drop it down to a 7 almost. I go back and rewatch it for a second time, and it's because you kind of you can nitpick certain parts that are a little inconsistent and little things that are like, that just bother you a lot more on the second time through. And I was like, yeah, this is a 7 out of 10 for me. It was a 7.5 at first, but no, 7 out of 10. I almost want to drop it to a 6.5, but I think that's just me being a Marvel hater, and I love Marvel, but I hate modern Marvel. I'm gonna keep it a 7 out of 10. I think that's fair. I love these posters. These posters are sick. The worst part is, though, it's like, the multiverse is such a cool concept, but Hollywood has just sucked the life out of the idea to where it has destroyed any continuity that you can have in a story. They're like, oh, actually, this, like, if something goes wrong in a writing room, or like to where they screw up a plot, or they or I don't know, just something goes wrong to where they need to essentially retcon something. They're like, oh, multiverse, that's all you got to worry about. Don't worry, it's multiverse stuff. Or they want to change a character to a drastic degree to where it's not even the initial character. There's like, don't worry, it's multiverse stuff. You don't got to worry about it. It's a different version. No, you are obliterating an original character to meet your own standards, and it destroys what it initially was, making it something completely different. It's such a frustrating concept, because we can't just have what we initially liked anymore, because they have to write it off as a multiverse bullcrap. Hidden Strike, I literally watched this because Jackie Chan and John Cena. I thought, okay, the first half, maybe even a little more than the first half of this movie, it was marketed like it was going to be a comedy. But literally for over half the movie, it feels like none of it's funny. Like, it feels like a very serious military drama almost. And then out of nowhere, once Jackie Chan and John Cena get together, it turns into this comedy. Not a funny comedy at that. But they get together and they start, like, telling jokes. I'm like, this is such a whiplash of feelings, or like vibes, to this movie. I enjoyed it. It was a dumb, turn your brain off kind of movie that you could kind of like, it had value. The fighting and the choreography with it was pretty great, but it was, you know, it's like, it's not a movie I'd ever say like, hey, go out of your way to watch this. You won't regret it. 6.5 out of 10. honestly, because of how long it is, a lot of the middleman parts of it are really forgettable. So I'm gonna drop it to a 6 out of 10. Man, this one was disappointing for me because I genuinely really liked the FNAF movie when I first saw it in theaters. I was like, man, that was so good. Why are people like? Why did people think this was gonna be Dookie? But then, like, I finally did a rewatch of it with my mom because I wanted her to watch it because, like, she doesn't watch a lot of horror movies. I think she's only watched 2 with me ever, which was Black Phone and then FNAF. I was like, she liked Black Phone, but we watched this. I was like, I remember, I was like, oh, this should be like a good in between for her to where it's not like crazy scary or anything like that. Watching it with someone who doesn't understand FNAF, it's almost embarrassing to watch it with them because it's just like, oh, this is stupid. This is really cringy. Not all of it, but certain aspects of it were just like, oh my. And then I was watching it with my mom, and my dad came home and he started watching it with us, and I was like, oh god, this is so much worse now. It's like, because he just criticizes the crap out of it. It's like valid criticisms. Typically it's not, but for this movie it was valid criticisms because it was like, oh, this is cringy. And it's like, I loved them when I first watched it, but yeah, I'm gonna keep that 6.5 out of 10. It's still a fun movie, and I'm very excited for the sequel. But second time watch through was pretty rough, I'm not gonna lie. The Tunnel to Summer, the Exit of Goodbye is such a absurd, not absurd, just overly long title. Very pretty anime that tells I'm honestly kind of, it feels like in line with Your Name or Weathering with You. You know, those kind of movies that tell a story that's kind of like slice of life that introduces a mythological story element to kind of mix up how things go. It's interesting and it is fun to watch. I think it could have benefited from not being so predictable at times. I don't know, it's like the ending I think is what really helped it. I like the ending because it took a way you wouldn't expect, but at the same time it was a satisfying ending in the way that it was different, but it was unsatisfying because it didn't end the way you wanted it to. And I'm not going to say any more without being spoiler ridden. Ooh, okay. Killer's Game. I went into this, me and a family member, we were going to go see Batman the Phantasm or something like that. You know, that Batman animated movie that's like considered really good. We were gonna go see that in theaters, but we went the wrong day on accident, and we were already at the theater, so we were like, all right, let's just see something. And they chose the movie. I was like, okay, The Killer's Game. No idea what this is. They literally chose it just because the main character is a wrestler. So it's like, whatever. I watched it. This movie is so good. It has so much style, kind of like in the same vein of Scott Pilgrim. If you know how those movies are styled, it follows that same idea. I would really recommend this movie. Without going into too much detail, it follows a really cool concept though that I think is worth a watch through. It's a little gory, and it does some more adult topics, so just be aware of that, adults only kind of movie. But it's a good movie. The fight choreography is really cool, and just like they're creative and funny. It kind of feels like a Marvel movie in the sense of it was well written. Well, not really well written because the story's not all that much there. It's more you're watching it for everything but the story because the story's kind of generic. So yeah, I'm gonna keep that 8.5 out of 10 for The Killer's Game. Transformers 1. I think everyone knows the general consensus on this movie when it comes to how people feel about Transformers 1. I was planning to see this movie either way, but I literally went to the theater at like I think like 8 in the morning because they were offering to give away Sonic 3 posters. So I kind of had to fight off the sleepiness when I first got there. But as the movie kept going, I was like, oh, this is such a great movie. Like, Chris Hemsworth did an awesome job as Optimus Prime. I was not a fan of them changing the voice actor on Optimus. But once I heard him, I was like, oh, dang, he's doing a good job. I hate it when they do swap celebrity voices out for the main character or whatever. But nah, he did a good job. And not just the voicing, the animation was really good. The story, well, a little predictable here and there, was kind of a little obnoxious that they did that with the predictability aspects, but it was really good movie. I am gonna be devastated if they do not make a sequel. 8.5 out of 10 for sure. I'm almost willing to bump that up to a 9 out of 10. I think I'll bump that up to a 9 out of 10 actually. So this was a movie that I went to go see with the men's ministry at my church. It was just kind of like a thing. I was like, okay, you know, I don't know anything about this movie. Let's go see what it was. It was a fun movie. I liked it. Well, okay, scratch that. Not a fun movie. It was an interesting movie. It wasn't like this very funny or well written. It had the vibes of a Hallmark movie, and All right, I'm stumbling all over myself here. Let's say this: it's a good movie, but in the sense of insanely predictable. And what drove me nuts is, all right, so the kid right here, I'm forgetting his name, but they made him out to be like this really bad guy, or not really bad guy, but like his life was falling apart because he didn't pick up his mom. All right, so he went to go play basketball with some friends. Or no, sorry, scratch that. He went to go find a job, and he asked his mom if he could borrow her car. She said yes, but pick me up at this exact time because I need to go to the grocery store. And they're not a very well-off family; like they don't make a lot of money. So she needed to go make a deal, or she had a deal to where she could get something a lot cheaper than what she said, and the grocery store was staying open longer for her. So they did make it a little more reasonable, or a little bit understandable for what happened. But he goes to look for a job, and a friend calls him. It's like, hey man, come play basketball with us. He's like, no, I gotta look for a job. He's like, come on man. He's like, oh, all right, well if you say that. So they go play basketball, and he's late to pick up his mom. And yeah, that sucks. Like, yeah, she has a valid reason to be mad at him, but they made him out to be this like horrible person for this. I was like, come on, you could have done something to make him like a genuinely like bad guy. Like he could have done something. He could have like hurt people. He could have like maybe done drugs or something. No, he was like, no, he was a bit inconsiderate, and he was lazy sometimes. And they made him out to be this big villain that needs to get his life together. It was kind of stupid, and I get it because they were trying to keep a low age rating, I think is why. Anyways, it was a fun movie, or I keep saying fun. It was a movie I say is worth watching. But other than that, it's not for everyone, that's for sure. I'm gonna keep that 7 out of 10. But you know, it's for a specific audience for sure. Piece by Piece, this is not a mockumentary, I can't think of the word exactly, but it's telling the life story of Pharrell Williams. I had no idea who this guy was before I saw this movie come out. I only know him for doing the song Happy for Despicable Me 2, I think. It was genuinely such a good movie, in the sense like visually it's so appealing to watch. It's such a unique, like it's more unique than the original Lego movies, than the like Lego movie 1, 2, Batman and Ninjago. Like all of those are very visually appealing, but this one takes like a very creative stance with it and does more with it than those other movies did. And just alone, it's worth it for the eye candy. But also, like, even me not giving half a crap about this man's life, it was still an interesting movie to watch unfold. Really recommend this one. Piece by Piece, 8.5 out of 10, absolutely. I watched the SpongeBob movie, but the rehydrated version. Ignoring the SpongeBob movie as a whole, the SpongeBob movie is good, but watching it as the rehydrated movie, I don't know. Like, I hate to be this guy. It genuinely sounds mean, and I don't mean it. I mean it as I mean it as little as mean as possible. But I feel like all the best parts were given to not the right artists. I feel like they could have given, like, anytime a big epic scene would happen, or like a really big iconic moment, an artist who could have done a lot better could have had that part, you know, or not even better, just more fitting for the moment, you know how sometimes they'll do like little goof gaff scenes to where they'll have like a stick man interact with like they'll have stick men represent the characters or something like that. I don't know, it's like they just didn't choose the right people to do the right scenes, and it really hurt the flow of the movie. The voice acting though, like the replacement, it was so good. They did such a great job with the voice acting and the sound design. Everything else about it, besides the proper choices of who did what scene, it was great. It was a 7.5 out of 10. I think that's valid. Yeah, moving forward, SpongeBob rehydrated, or the SpongeBob movie rehydrated, 7.5 out of 10. This is such a I had a Scooby-Doo kick a few years ago, and I watched it for this Scooby-Doo The Mystery Begins. I watched it for the first time a couple years ago, and I found it on Blu-ray the other day at a secondhand DVD shop. I was like, oh man, I gotta watch this. It was like I remembered liking it, but I think I liked it way more the second time because it was such a fun version of the Scooby Gang. I feel like Scooby could have been used a bit more in it, but overall I would say this is one of the better. I'd say this is better than the James Gunn Scooby-Doo movies by a long shot. I don't like those movies. This is a great Scooby-Doo movie. Ooh, Overlord. Okay, so if you guys don't know, Clayton Mathis, he's the guy who's done a few videos for my YouTube channel. Like he did the regular show promo. He's doing a few voices for my regular show video. He was actually a voice in this movie, which was really cool. I think that's so awesome that he did a voice for like one of my favorite movies this year, and just one of my favorite animes, Overlord: The Sacred Kingdom. Such a good movie. Like it's mainly just filler of the show more than like anything that's gonna have any drastic change to the show, I don't think. But it was so good. Like it's again a strong R rating. Definitely don't watch it with kids, or if you are a kid, but like it does not hold back in so many ways, and I love that because it's dark. It does not. It's interesting to see how dark they're willing to go sometimes. It's also just a really fun movie to watch. It was cool to see how it would unfold and what they would do, how they would creatively think to solve the problem, you know? Not so much the characters, but the writers. Good movie, 8.5 out of 10 for sure. So I hate that I got this on Blu-ray because I love the first movie so much. I was like, all right, let me pick up this one. I've seen it before, but I forgot how genuinely awful it was. This movie sucked. The only redeeming factor about it was the fact that the cartoony nature of it all was like amped up by like 10. It was a lot funnier in the sense of the cartoon shenanigans that would go on, but overall it was just a worse story. And I solved the mystery literally in the first scene, and the first scene shows you who's the monster. Basically, it's so stupid. I'm like, why did they do that? It wasn't even like remotely subtle. I feel like a 5-year-old could figure it out. But yeah, 5 out of 10. I feel like the cartooniness of it all is the only redeeming factor of this movie. So 5 out of 10. I know this wasn't a good movie, Venom: The Last Dance, but I still liked it. I don't have a lot to say about it. It's like, you know, it did what it did. I was surprised at the ending that it took. That was kind of cool. And no joke, they were trying to do this emotional moment, like reliving memories and all that, and they do it like a freaking Gen Zer would do a TikTok edit. It was so funny, and just it felt so out of place. I loved it. It was so stupid. 7.5 out of 10. I think that's good. All the movies, the next few movies are going to be very much movies chosen by my dad. I did not choose these, and you'll be able to see what I mean here in a minute. We watched Gladiator. Not a movie for me at all. I can't deny that it was a good movie, and it was probably great for the time, like in the sense of writing and story that happened. It was very predictable, like you just knew what was going to happen. Nothing really shocked me. Fighting was awesome, but that's all I really got to say. 8 out of 10 in the sense of that it was a good movie. If I was rating it as a, like, technically these are all ratings for me more than movies themselves, I would probably give it like a 6 out of 10, but as a movie itself, 8 out of 10. Here's another dad movie. Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassin. See, the title sounds kind of sick, right? But it's about this guy who's basically a, well, you know what? It's pretty, it was a very slow burn movie, and if I explained the plot, it would just take way too long. But it was so slow. But not necessarily bad, it was just like, you gotta sit down. Like a 2-hour movie is gonna feel like it's gonna be like 3 or 4 almost. Overall, it was interesting. It was cool to see this part of history that's not really told before, especially in a movie format. But it's just not a movie for me. I feel like that 7 out of 10 is still valid though, because it was good. It was well shot. The writing was good. There wasn't really any negative things to say about it other than it was slow, and the tension was really high up there at some points. It was cool. And I like, well, it sounds dark to say I like the ending, but it was cool to see the ending that they took. And here's another one. All right, the best Christmas pageant ever. It was essentially a Hallmark movie with a theatrical budget. It was very much just, it was a movie we saw on Thanksgiving, I believe. Oh, no, we saw it December 1st. That don't seem right. Oh, wait, no, we saw, I don't remember. We saw Boffenheimer, or I don't remember. We saw this one for Thanksgiving. We saw this one a couple days later, or maybe a day later. I don't remember. Anyways, it was fine. It was like, I mean, it was cute for what it was, I guess, but I don't really have anything positive or negative to say about it. It was very average. It was just there, and it wasn't awful or anything. So I don't like Lord of the Rings, or scratch that. I don't have an interest in Lord of the Rings. I don't think it's bad by any means. Just I don't care for medieval stuff very much. This was a great movie. Animation, a little choppy at the beginning, like almost to a disgusting level. Like they should not have put this out there kind of levels. It was choppy. It hurt my eyes. It was bad. Now, the detail in the animation, or the detail in the art itself, was very good. So it kind of makes sense that it was choppy. But still, it was bad. But once you got past that initial, like, crappy animation, it gets so much better later on. It's so smooth and clean later. but it was a good story. It took a little bit of a generic path for a while, but it started to veer off to a very different, like you would not expect it to go the way it did. It was cool that it took that way. Even if you don't like Lord of the Rings, I would highly recommend this movie. Very good movie. Lord of the Rings, The War of the Roar. I don't know how to say that. The Rohirrim. 8 out of 10 for sure. It's good. Red One. I mean, a lot of people were like crapping on this. I wanted to see it. I thought the trailers looked fun and like a goofy, like it felt like they were making a Marvel movie, but not Marvel IP at all. And it was just a dumb Christmas movie. That's exactly what it was. It was a dumb action Christmas movie that I could see this, not by no means is it a yearly watch, but I can see this wanting to watch this like every 3 to 4 years, maybe, like as a fun little family movie or something. Honestly, I felt like they did not know their audience though, because sometimes it was like, oh, this is a little too kiddie, what the heck are they doing? And then other times they're like, actually, we're gonna swear and have people's butts in the backgrounds. Like, what is this movie? They did not grasp the right audience, it felt like. But overall, it was 6.5 out of 10. I feel like that's good. It wasn't very funny. Like, it's hard to say anything positive about it, but I still liked it, you know? It was a stupid fun watch kind of deal. I forgot how much of an Alvin and the Chipmunks experience the first movie was. Like, if it was not for that redesign, blowing up the internet essentially, this movie would have bombed horrendously. Like, it is so generic. I like it. And I say it in my review, if it was like replace all the Sonic aspects, like get rid of the Green Hill Zone, just put like random cartoon characters in place of it, have all the same lore, have it be Speedy, all that, just different, completely unique original character. This movie be like a 5 out of 10, maybe a 5.5, but because it has Sonic in it, it's a 7 out of 10. And because it has all the Sonic references and it has some, you can tell that there's effort and love put into it by the people who were willing to put that effort into it. Not by everyone in the movie making process, but a lot of them did. I liked it. It was a good movie in the sense that it was better than what it could have been. It was also pretty funny. There was I feel like I said earlier that it would be a 5 out of 10. No, because of how funny it was, it'd probably be a 6.5 out of 10. It was genuinely funny, even without all the Sonic stuff. But I'm gonna stick with that 7 out of 10 for the Sonic movie. Sonic 2, honestly, the first half was like really embarrassing to watch. Like, I was watching this, I was like, oh no, this is stupid. Why did I like this movie so much? And then the wedding scene was also pretty. I feel like the wedding scene was exaggerated on how awful it was. It was not what it should not have been in the movie by any means. Like, it was stupid that it was in the movie. But people did greatly exaggerate how awful it was. But like that last half of the movie saves it. Like, it's nowhere near as funny as the first movie. It's still funny, but not to the same level as the first movie. But the second half of the action and just everything they put into it is so like just fun to watch. I was watching these movies on the 4K Blu-ray, and I had HDR on my screen, so it was just blasting me with colors to where I felt like I was being hypnotized with it. It was it was fun to watch in the high res and all that. Overall, I liked it. It's slightly better than the first movie because it's slightly more Sonic-y than the first movie. So the 7.5 out of 10 is valid. So Sonic 3, just going directly into it, it could have benefited so much from having like 30 more minutes. The pacing was just murdered, and I feel like it could have benefited from just having like 30 more minutes of content, maybe like spread it throughout the film, like a few more minutes here and there, especially at the beginning. It felt like it just went breakneck speeds right into the action, which isn't inherently a bad thing, especially since we already have 2 movies before it. But I would have liked to see the interactions between like Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Donut Lord, and I'm forgetting the wife's name at the moment. Tom and Maddie, that's it. I wanted to see them interact a little more, just to kind of see that they've bonded a little more before we got into the crazy action. And so I'm not going into spoilers, you'll understand why. But I would have liked to seen that bond formed a bit more. Like, yes, we understand there's a bond there due to the video games, but strictly from a film standpoint, we do not understand that these characters are like super best friends forever kind of deal, you know? So it was when Sonic... Okay, alright, I'm getting into spoiler range, so scratch that. There was a few key points here and there. Alright, actually, spoiler warning. This is a huge spoiler warning right here. If you don't want to hear this part, don't listen or like skip. I'll put a timestamp for when to skip to the next part if you don't want to hear spoilers. A few more seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I hated the fact that they did not shoot Maria dead on with a gun. They did the explosion thing. I know, kids movie, you shouldn't shoot children in kids movies. Honestly, I don't know many movies that will straight up shoot kids anyways. I don't care. I wanted that girl shot. I was so disappointed when they didn't do it. And it was like, man, it was like they still killed her off, of course, with the explosion, but it's just not the same. It doesn't have the same oomph that it could have had. And then there's the fact that everything else about it was, and I understand why they took the route they did, but I was disappointed that Maria did not have her sickness that she's supposed to have. That's kind of a huge part of her character, because that's supposed to kind of lead into why her and Shadow are longing for Earth so much. But they had her on Earth from the beginning and she wasn't sick, so they kind of had a childhood together, like a normal childhood, except for the fact that they were in a marine, or not marine, a military base. Like, I don't know, it's like they could, I wish they just kept him up in space and Marie was sick. That's honestly my only main complaints. Other than that, it was a great film. It was funnier, the action was amazing. Like, they did, I do wish they implemented, this is the most they've implemented the Sonic music into the movie itself. Like, the other two movies failed horribly with the music. This one did great, but I still feel like they could have done a little bit more, because like going through and listening to the OST, you realize that they use a lot of it, but I feel like it was like you don't notice it unless you're really, really, really listening. It was like, maybe that's just me though, because I don't pick up on that stuff too well. But yeah, overall, easily the best out of the trilogy. It's a good movie. That 8 out of 10. I want to rewatch it. I've been trying to go see it for the past, since I've seen it, I've been trying to go rewatch it again. I just haven't had the time. After that long rant, spoilers are over. The Polar Express, I don't know. It's like, it's a Christmas movie. It's a goofy Christmas movie. Everyone's seen it, essentially. My dad claimed for years that he has not seen this movie. Me and my family were sure that he had before, but he kept claiming that he never had. So we finally sat down and watched it this Christmas. And I mean, I don't know if he even shared his opinions on it, honestly. I think he was like, oh yeah, it was a Christmas movie or something like that. But I liked it. It was fine. I thought it was so realistic as a kid. I remember watching this movie in first grade, and I have very vivid memories of being terrified of the puppet scene, if you know what I'm talking about, with the creepy puppets in the train scene, because they were so realistic and it was like a spooky scene. I mean, it's a perfectly fine Christmas movie. Nothing really else to say. 7 out of 10 for sure. All right, this is another dad movie. It was, I mean, it had a really cool premise that was wasted horribly on like it just did not take to full extent. Okay, without going into spoilers, because I'm sure everybody here cares about spoilers for this movie, Homestead, excuse me, it essentially started with showing us 3 different families all trying to get to safety in different ways during the apocalypse. Like, California got hit by a nuke and everybody was trying to escape to a homestead to where they could be safe. And we got to see each of these families do different things and take it a different way. And then once they all got to the homestead, it sort of just separated, and we paid attention to one family the whole time. That was kind of, and I was really disappointed in that. I was like, why didn't we watch more of this unfold with the rest of them? And the reason why is because apparently it leads into a TV show. This was essentially like a 2-hour trailer for a TV show that they're doing as well. It was fine. It was a 5 out of 5. I feel like the 0.5 was me being a little generous. I'm gonna drop it to a 5 out of 10. One thing that threw me off the entire time I was watching it was seeing this actor right here, because I'm watching through the Arrowverse right now, and this actor was the main villain for season 4 of the Arrow. Or I'm like 95% sure that's him. And I was just looking and I was like, dude, you were like an absolute villain in that show. You were a monster. And in this show, he's just a guy trying to do his best and be nice to everyone. So this isn't the movie's fault. It was just throwing me off because I'm used to him being like this genocidal maniac, and and in this show he cares about everyone's life and all that. Or in this movie he cares about everyone's life. It was a funny turnaround. I watched this kind of on a whim. Big Daddy, it was a random Adam Sandler movie because I just wanted to watch an Adam Sandler movie. It was very goofy. It was dumb. It was just kind of one of those movies you would pop in if you found it at the thrift store. I saw this one on Netflix, but I don't know. It wasn't very funny, and there wasn't a lot to say about it, like in a positive light. But I enjoyed watching it. I really like the chemistry between these two, and the way his character was written was just stupid. Like, he was very smart, but he was stupidly lazy at the same time, so he never used his intelligence. They didn't really show that except for a couple times during certain scenes to where they just magically needed him to be smart, but it was funny. It wasn't very funny, but it was still, I enjoyed it. It was a good movie. They tried to force some heartwarming moments in there that just didn't work, but like, I don't know, it still worked at the same time. Like, it was forced in there, but it still had an effect at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense. 6.5 out of 10. Next Gen, I watched this on a whim as well, because I saw a clip on Twitter people talking about, like, one of the villain just says something really out of pocket for a kids movie. I was like, okay, that has me intrigued. They don't seem to hold back in this movie. It was I don't know. It felt like they were just trying too hard. The girl was so extremely unlikable. I can't say what I want to say about her because YouTube would not like what I have to say about her, but she gives very kid in the back of the class vibes, if you know what I mean. She wears trench coat. She wears a trench coat kind of vibe. And if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Of course, they try to redeem her of that, but it's not all that effective. It's honestly kind of a forgettable film. It visually, like, in the sense that, I don't know, it's not the right term, but the graphics are very nice. They're like very well, good lighting and all that. But I don't like the style all that much. The style's like, I don't know. She's randomly born with purple hair, which isn't inherently a bad thing. Anime does that all the time. I don't know. I think she was like the only character that had anything like that, and it just looked kind of stupid and out of place for a CG film. Other than that, the ending was awesome. Like, it was so well animated. The fight scene was sick. I did not care about any of these characters, though. They did not do anything for me to care about the characters. They tried to build this bond between these two characters. Like, we were supposed to have, like, genuine feelings for them, but they did nothing for us to care about those feelings to be made. So I'm like, y'all are just forcing this so hard, and it's so unnatural. 6.5 out of 10. I think that holds up. There was a couple good songs in there, but then there was like this one thing, the dog, like the dog would like swear a whole lot, but they would bleep it out. But you know how like kids movies, they'll typically do it to where like there's bleeping to where it's like it's supposed to be insinuated they're swearing, but you can't pick up what they're swearing. This one, like, it's just he's straight up saying them and then bleeping them out. Because you know exactly what he's saying. It is not subtle at all. It's so just weird. It's like, there's another one to where one of the songs says the F word a bunch, but it keeps just cutting it out, and it feels like really out of place and weird for the vibe this movie's going for. Like, it has this rebel vibe, but at the same time, it's like a corporate marketing rebel vibe, you know? I think you know what I mean by that. I literally bought this movie, The Illusionist, on Blu-ray at a thrift store. Never heard of the movie. I was like, oh wow, it's rare I've never heard of an animated movie that has a Blu-ray release. You know, like, in the sense of, I typically know almost every animated movie, in the sense I would at least recognize it, right? So I picked it up because it looked like it was high quality. It was like an artsy film, and I didn't realize until I was like 15 minutes in. I kept thinking, like, okay, when are they gonna have dialogue? When are they gonna have dialogue? It just kept going. It was like there was never dialogue in the movie. There would be occasional like French speak or something. Like they would say something in French, or like it was not a exclusively French film. It was made in France, but it was meant to be watched with no dialogue, essentially, with the occasional like murmur, and like you would hear a word come through. Like, even the subtitle said speaking in French, even though it was a French film, so it was clearly not meant to be understood. Like, sometimes they would have English words come up to where they would say it, so like there's certain parts to where you need to understand what's being said, like over the phone or something. But almost all of their expressions and like the story was told through actions, and everything was told through the expressions of the character's face, which is a huge problem because they never put focus on the character's face. They did a lot of far shots, this is probably more of an issue on me due to vision, but I could never tell what the characters were thinking except for through body language. So a lot of the movie, I was kind of lost. It was a good movie in the sense of the backgrounds were great, the animation was smooth, there was a lot of good lighting. You could tell what was happening, but it was not a movie for me. It was very much a boring film. It was like, it was so French. That's all I can say about it. It was just incredibly French. 6.5 out of 10. All right, and that sums it up for the rest of our movies. That was much longer than I wanted to go over, but 60 movies in total is, I believe I reached 80 or 90 last year, so, you know, it's, not as many movies as I did last year. But overall, the movies were okay. I hit a lot of variety, not as much variety as I would have liked, to be honest. But, you know, I got to see a lot of older movies, and I think I had variety this year, for sure. Alright, on to part 2, which was my TV shows. Now, I know I watched a drastic amount of less TV shows, and that is partly because, like I said earlier, I've been watching the Arrowverse all this year. I've been watching in chronological order, so I'm like I just got to season 5 of the Arrow. I'm on season 3 of the Flash. Started season 2 of Supergirl last night, and I just finished season 1 of of Legends of Tomorrow. And honestly, I am suffering through that series. I don't know why. I'm going to try and stick with it as long as I can. But right now, I am struggling through it. I'm hoping I can sit through the rest of it, and I'm hoping it gets better. I really like The Flash, or yeah, I like season 1 and 2 of The Flash, and I really liked Arrow almost all the way, other than it's really repetitive. I'm dying through Legends of Tomorrow and Supergirl. Those have been awful. Vixen was okay for like a 30-minute short. I didn't watch Constantine because it's pretty demonic, so I just didn't watch that. On to the TV shows. Starting off with a really big stinker, What If Season 2. Yeah, I don't really have anything valid to say about this. I don't remember any of the anthology. It's not even an anthology, it's all interconnected. I remember not liking any of it, and it was incredibly boring. 5 out of 10. I'm gonna drop it to a 4.5 out of 10. I feel like it deserves a 4 out of 10, honestly, but that's not the rule, so I'll stick to my 4.5 out of 10. I don't have anything to say about it. Like, the animation is nice for the most part. I'm glad that one thing I will say that was a positive: season 2 fixed a part of the animation when season 1, like, all the characters had this ugly blush on their faces that was so incredibly distracting. I hated it. And then season 2 got rid of it for the most part, and that was a big plus for me. It made me not hate the animation as much. Other than that, 4.5 out of 10 for What If Season 2. Goodnight World, this was a dark one. It's basically about this family that's like, they all play VR together, but they hate each other in real life, but they all play VR together and they become a family in VR, and they have no idea that they're all family in real life too. They're playing video games, they get really deep into it, but it turns like an SAO type thing to where like the real world blends into the fantasy video game world. It gets crazy. It's definitely worth a watch. It's pretty violent. The characters are really interesting. Like, you don't particularly root for any of them because they're all kind of awful. So you got to go into the mindset of being ready to deal with awful people. But it's a good show. I liked it. 8.5 out of 10. Sonic Prime. Apparently, I finished this like the night it came out, so I was not expecting for Sonic Prime. This is season 3 specifically. I went into this thinking like, oh, it's I hated season 1 and 2. I should say that. I was very Mickey Mouse Clubhouse bullcrap. It was not written for the audience that Sonic should aim for, in my opinion. Sonic should be that good like 10 to 15-year-old range. This was more like 7 to 5-year-old, maybe 4-year-old range. It was stupid. It was cringy. Sonic Prime season 3 specifically, though, I liked it out of season 1 and 2 because the action was really good. The problem is season 3 was strictly action. It was all fighting, and that was it. And it was repetitive. They just kept doing the same crap over and over. So I give season 3 a 7 out of 10, and then the overall show, for the complaints I just said, is a 5.5 out of 10. Honestly, because of just how meh the show is, I'm going to drop it to a 5 out of 10. I gave it that 0.5 because it was Sonic, but it does not deserve that, honestly. It's a 5 out of 10 for the overall show. Okay, I was talking about how I'm not a huge fan of overly vulgar TV and movies and all that. I find that lazy and annoying for the most part. This was a good movie, or a good show. Ted season 1, it was genuinely funny. Like, McFarlane's humor, it just doesn't do it for me. Like, you know how like everyone watches those TikToks of Family Guy while the Subway Surfers plays underneath? Like, it's mesmerizing. It's stupid, just brain rot humor almost. But I don't know, Ted was genuinely funny. It was well written. There was a few characters that were just obnoxious, but overall, it was a funny show. Very much adults only. Don't watch this if you're a kid. But it was funny. I liked it. It was a good show. This is what made me watch Ted 1 and 2, by the way, is because I really liked the show. I was like, okay, I'll go watch the movies. Or no, did I? I think I watched the movies before I watched the show. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I watched the show, then the movies. I couldn't tell you. 7.5 out of 10. If it wasn't for those two obnoxious characters, Maddie and Blair, I would up it to an 8. I did not like them at all. They were irritating the entire time. So I'm going to keep it to a 7.5 out of 10. Hopefully for season 2, they do not make them obnoxious like they did. Ooh, okay. So I can't talk too much about any of the Walking Dead shows without spoilers, so I won't. But Daryl Dixon season 1, it was good. A lot of people say it's better than the mainline show. I disagree wholeheartedly. I liked it, though. It was different. It experimented. It took us to a different area of the world that we had not seen in The Walking Dead, which was really cool. I I don't want to go too in depth because spoilers and all that. I mean, I do like what they're doing with the walkers. They're doing something different. 7.5 out of 10. And then, again, major spoilers for The Walking Dead. Apologies if you're watching the show or something. The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, without spoilers, they did almost everything I wanted to see they do with these characters returning. They could have done more. I think it could have been benefited from being longer. And I honestly, it sounds like there may be a season 2 coming. I don't know if that's 100% confirmed yet or not, but I liked it. I really want to see more of these characters, or at least I want to see them get back with more of the characters from the other shows. And it could have been a little bit longer. 8 out of 10. I really liked this show back in high school, and I was disappointed that season 2 never got a dub, and then it randomly got a dub, like recently, I believe. Umaru-chan R, that's what they called season 2. It's season 2 of Umaru-chan. It wasn't as funny. It was kind of cringy, and honestly, I just didn't enjoy it all that much. The only good thing about it was watching the interactions between all the characters after not seeing them for a while. Other than that, 6 out of 10. I would, I'm going to drop it to a 5.5 out of 10 because I don't remember this at all. So 5.5 out of 10. I'm not going to deny it. I was incredibly disappointed in the Knuckles show. Now, the internet made it out to be like this horrid dumpster fire that did not deserve to exist. And to an extent, I agree it doesn't deserve to exist. Because, like, why did Knuckles get a show before Tails? But whatever. It was still fun. Knuckles should have been in it way more. It was just overall frustrating how little he was in it. It became the Wade Whipple show more than anything. But it had funny, quirky moments, and it was weird and experimental. And even one thing I despise about it is that they completely got rid of the Iblis trigger as a dumb throwaway gag. That was frustrating, but I did like that musical scene. That was funny, and I wish the songs were better. Like, I wish the musical scenes were songs that I could actually listen to, like, on my Spotify. They're not just something you watch specifically for the show, 6 out of 10. I feel like that's still good. People overhated the show, but it still deserves the hate, Quintessential quintuplets. Honestly, just the chemistry between all the characters are really good. The ending was a little frustrating because it was like they just created drama to have drama almost. But at the same time, it all flowed together in the end. And the ending could have been a little less open-ended, but the reason it was open-ended was for the movie, so I can't really complain too much. That 9.5 out of 10... I think I'm comfortable with keeping that. It's a really good romance anime. I really liked it. If you're looking for a good romance anime, this is a good one. I'm just glad they didn't make the freaking protagonist a spineless loser like almost all the other ones are in these kind of shows. Drives me up the wall. Apparently, this did not do very well as a show. I really liked Reborn as a Vending Machine. I Now Wonder the Dungeon. I liked it. Good show. It took a lot of creative routes to do what it did. I understand why people didn't like it to an extent, but I don't care. Clayton did voices in this show as well, I believe. That was really cool. I didn't know until after I watched this show, but that was fun to learn that he did voices in this as well. It's a great show. I really liked it. I don't like isekais. If you don't like isekais, I still recommend watching this. It's just so creative to see how they solve problems with vending machines. It's such a stupid concept that's really turns it to 11 in how stupid it knows it's stupid and it's creative. 9 out of 10 for sure. Okay, this one is one of my first big disappointments of this year, and that was Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. People have been hyping this show up for ages. I remember just people saying it was like the best Scooby-Doo show, 100%. No, it is so sloppily made. And like the characters are more irritating than anything. They are constantly at each other's throats, and such like Velma drove me nuts like for almost the entire show. I feel like I was being really generous with that 6.5. Because I love the idea of a serialized Scooby-Doo, but it was destroyed in such a horrible way, and they just did not do the story. Like, the story they set up was not done well. It's like, everything about the show could have been great. If the writing was good, yeah, honestly, if the writing was good, it could have been great, because everything else about it was good. The art was nice, the animation was okay. It was a little stiff here and there, which was distracting at times. I just threw one of my Game Boy games on the ground. Oops. It could have been a lot better. I'm going to drop it to a 5.5, honestly. The more I think about the show, the more upset I get about how bad it was. So 5.5 out of 10. Let me grab my Game Boy game real quick. I threw it to the ground on accident. Chicken Little on the Game Boy Advance. Bottom tier character I think it's Tomazaki. Yeah, bottom tier character Tomazaki, second stage, season 2 of this show. I mean, it was fine, to be honest. I don't remember like almost any of this. It was fine. Like, I feel like season 1 was way better, so I'm gonna drop it to a 6.5 out of 10. I don't have anything to say because I don't remember anything about it. This one right here, The Dangers in My Heart. Genuinely, the premise, I don't know what made me watch this show. The premise sounds incredibly cringe. Like, it sounds like angst to the 9th level when it comes to middle school edge. But when you watch it, it's actually really cute, and it has like, I really like the character dynamics and the romance that unfolds. This is a good watch. I really recommend it. Now, one thing I will say is, I said I hope there's a season 2. I didn't know that there was a season 2 at the time that I wrote this review, because I didn't see it, and it was because there wasn't a dub of season 2. And literally the dub of, I just happened to watch this on a whim one day and found out that season 2 was being dubbed like a couple weeks later, which was funny. Like, what are the odds of that? Okay, Crash and Bernstein. I thought this show was so stupid as a kid. I was like, man, this is garbage. This is so dumb. I don't know what took me over to want to watch it. I just randomly had the urge to watch it one day. I think I just wanted to watch something puppety that wasn't the Muppets related. The Muppet Studio actually, the Jim Henson Studio actually did make the Crash and Bernstein Muppet or puppet. But anyways, this was such a funny show. Like, I was not expecting it to be as good as it was. The puppetry on Crash, while you could very much obviously see the wires and all that, they were so creative with it and were willing to just be experimental and go insane with it. And the writing was funny a lot of times. Like, I laughed out loud quite a bit while watching the show. There's, of course, a lot of that cheesy 2000s or 2010s humor in there, but I think it was valid. It was such a funny show. Y'all need to watch it. Like, if you're just looking for a dumb sitcom to sit through and you want to watch some dumb puppetry going on, it's worth a watch. I loved it. 8.5 out of 10. I'm not changing a lot of my opinions on these reviews this time like I did last year, so I don't know. I kind of want to bump it to a 9, honestly, just to be that guy. I'm going to bump it to a 9. It's a 9 out of 10. Okay, and then here's season 2 of Dangers in My Heart. I don't really, it's the exact same thing. It's just worth a watch. If you can sit through the first few episodes of season 1, it is such a show worth sitting through and finishing. I give the overall series a 9 out of 10. Season 2 was a little bit better than season 1 because they experimented and left the kind of generic romance stories that you see happen. Like, they kind of went a little further out. 9.5 out of 10 for season 2, and then the overall show's a 9 out of 10. It's so good. I really recommend watching this. Okay, this one right here, the Batman, I don't know what overcame me to make me want to watch this, but I wanted to watch some DC stuff, I guess, and I watched this. This was such a good version of the Batman. Like, it was so cool seeing, like, Bruce Wayne not be such an edgelord. Like, I like edgy Batman, don't get me wrong. That's, like, my favorite kind of Batman, but it was cool to see him be more than just edgy. He was dark and brooding at times, but he was also knew how to have fun, and he would make jokes occasionally. I think it's one of my favorite interpretations of Bruce Wayne. There was a few moments here and there to where I didn't like some of the character designs, like the Riddler was really stupid looking, and so was the Joker. I knew as a kid I hated that version of the Joker. He was so dumb looking, but the stories are great. And besides, my only real complaints about the show, besides some of the character designs, is Robin and Batgirl. Mainly Batgirl more than Robin, I think. They were just annoying to me. I feel like they're almost equally annoying. It's just Batgirl had a few more episodes, so she had more episodes to annoy me. Anyways, this is a great Batman series, y'all. If you want to watch something that isn't the animated series and you want more Batman, this is an awesome one. Zom 100, people hyped this up like in crazy when it first came out. I mean, it was good. I really liked it. I don't really have a lot to say about it. It was stylish. It was fun. It was interesting to see a zombie outbreak happen in Japan. I haven't seen that before. I mean, plenty of shows have done it, but this is the first time I've seen it. It was cool to see that happen, and it was fun to see it in more of a chill, relaxed way. I don't really have a lot to say about it. It was good. I'm looking forward to season 2. Yeah, 8 out of 10. Ooh, Terminator. This is the first piece of good Terminator media we've gotten in a while that wasn't a video game. Terminator Zero. I do not like that they interjected I don't know if that's the right word. They used kids in this because the kids were annoying, and it's like you see the same follies with every time they use kids in a show like this. It's like they always do the same crap, and it's kind of annoying because kids are dumb and all that. it was like, but looking past that, everything else about this is great. The writing was fun. It was cool to see where it was going. A strong R rating on this one. Don't watch this if you're a kid. It's gory and it's just not very kid friendly. Very much only watch this if you're someone who loves anime, or you're a dad from the 80s who loves Terminator. Futurama season 12. Honestly, a little weaker than last season, season 11. I liked season 11 a little more. This one, it feels like they're starting to Flanderize a lot of the characters, especially Fry and Leela. Other than that, I mean, it was good. A little forgettable. I'm gonna drop it down to a 7 because I don't really remember too many episodes, except for the one episode about Fry's birthday and the games they played. That was the only one that really stuck with me. So, and that one was to where they were, you know how the earlier seasons of Futurama would have a lot of heartfelt moments, and they do a really good job of them. It felt like they were almost doing a caricature of those, to where they were like, oh, we gotta have a heartfelt moment because that's what people love about the Futurama show. It felt more like they were trying too hard. It was still good, but it wasn't to the same level. I'm gonna drop it to a 7 out of 10. I don't have a lot to say about this without spoilers either. Season 2 of Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol. It was good. I would say it was a little not as good as season 1, maybe. I don't know. No, I'd say it's about the same. It was cool to see Carol in it. Sorry, big spoilers again. One thing I will say, they did not use the variant of walkers that they did in season 1 as much as they should have. I thought that was kind of weird that they didn't use those more. Other than that, it was good. I'm excited for season 3. Aaliyah sometimes hides her feelings in Russians. The concept of the show was awesome. Execution was just kind of okay. Like, I don't know. I feel like they took an idea that could have been really exciting. Or, okay, not really exciting, but could have been fun. And they just kind of took the exact route you would expect it to take. Like, nothing, like, it was a fun watch. And it went the way you would expect a show like this to go. And it also had, like, a lot of cringe brain rot that was clearly through English translation. And it was just stupid and, like, it's gonna age horribly. I'll keep that 7 out of 10. Honestly, I kind of want to drop it to a 6.5 out of 10 just for the cringe brain rot they threw in there. But whatever, 7 out of 10. And then this one right here, Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. This is not the kind of show I thought it was. This is people hyped this show up like crazy when it first came out. It was like such a good I keep wanting to say rom-com, romance anime. It was great. I don't want to keep this on screen too much because it's out of character for the kind of stuff I usually show on my YouTube, but that's one thing I really like about this, is that they do not do anything like that. Like, it's barely in the show at all, except for the initial startup. The whole bunny girl thing is barely in the show, other than like a few jokes here and there. The dialogue was very natural and realistic. That's what I really loved about it, and it was interesting to see it take it took a supernatural route I was not expecting for this kind of show. It was cool. Very 8 out of 10, very much fitting. I'll keep that 8 out of 10 rating. And that is all for the shows. My video games this year? I don't know. I played a lot of retro games, thinking about it. I played mainly shorter titles because I just didn't have a lot of time to game this much this year, because college was just overwhelmingly time consuming. Other than that, I just, I just want to play some bigger games this year. I want to dig into at least one RPG. I think the next game I'll play is Dragon's Dogma. That's the plan. Sometimes my plans don't always come through, though, because I change my mind on a whim. Because I started a game on New Year's Eve, or the New Year's Eve of playing Spider-Man, or Ultimate Spider-Man on the GameCube. I was like, oh, I'll blast through this real quick. I didn't blast through it real quick. I got like 2 hours in. Alright, anyways, video games. Let's see what we did this year. Oh, okay. This one was starting out strong with Sonic Forces Overclocked. This is a fan mod that essentially makes a completely original, or not completely original. It does like not prequel. It does like a sequel continuation. I don't remember. It was a prequel or sequel. It's been a second. I'm having a brain fart on it. It's more Sonic Forces, but if Sonic Forces was good, basically. Like, it's very much a fan project. You can see it, but it still feels like it's so much more than Sonic Forces. Sonic Forces felt like a fan project that was made in like 2006 by a bunch of fans who had just learned how to make video games, while Sonic Forces Overclocked actually felt like a video game. It was a little like, it wasn't perfect. It was like maybe an hour and a half long, but it had original cutscenes and voice acting, which was sick. Great set design. As a fan game, easy 9 out of 10. As a game, to be honest, I beat it really early in the year, so it is a little unfair to say I don't remember a lot of it. I beat it January 17th, so I don't remember a lot of it in all fairness. I'm gonna keep that 7 out of 10 because it's a fan game, and I feel like I would be very unfair, and I just have poor memory. Ooh, okay, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I love the Ratchet and Clank games. I've only played 2 other ones. I played Ratchet and Clank on the PS4, the remake, and then Ratchet and Clank Size Matters on the PSP, and that was streamed years ago. But I platinumed this game. I don't ever platinum games. The story was really good. I was a little disappointed in the gameplay in the sense that it felt like I was just kind of holding trigger and shooting. Like it took very little skill to shoot a lot of the times. I feel like that's kind of a huge problem with a lot of Ratchet and Clank games, especially the more modern ones, where it feels like the guns overpower the actual skill. Like it feels like, especially when you start to power them up, it feels like you're almost never aiming. You're just kind of you're shotgunning it, basically all your guns. Overall, I still really enjoyed it. It's great. The weapons, I think they could benefit from being a bit more creative, maybe a little less overused, but still, I really enjoyed it. I am excited to see what the next Ratchet and Clank game does. And I liked Rivet's design. That was fun. I liked how she wasn't a carbon copy of Ratchet from an alternate universe. I'm forgetting the yellow robot's name at the moment, but I liked her as well. And I liked how Rivet and Ratchet swapped Clank and the other robot around to where we still saw the other world, but we saw it from a different perspective on each. That was cool. 8.5 out of 10. I think that's still valid. I'll keep that. All right, so Bluey the video game. I streamed this as a joke mainly. I 100%ed it. It's hard for me to genuinely review this like I say right here, because it's a game meant for toddlers. I mainly did it as a joke and because like Bluey's a cute show, you know, but the game sucked. It was it was buggy. It did not have the heart that the show does. It was very clearly made for an audience that has learned how to push the A button and walk around. But I can say with full intent that I 100% is Bluey the video game, and people can take me seriously as a gamer. Bluey the video game definitely deserves a 4.5 out of 10. I don't think I can say too much about it other than that 4.5 out of 10. It doesn't offer enough to get anything more, and that's just because it matches the style of the show so well that I'm giving that 4.5. If it didn't, I honestly, you know what, no, I'm scratching it down to a 4. Because it just didn't, it was lacking the heart that show deserved. And it's getting a 4 out of 10, yeah. Dragon Ball Advanced Adventure, again, I think this was around the time Toriyama passed away. But I've been playing through this game for years, and I finally sat down, I was like, all right, I'm going to sit down and play it all the way through. I finally did. It was so good. It was such a fun, I don't like beat 'em ups all that much. This isn't a strictly beat 'em up, it's more platforming beat 'em up with some fighting mechanics, and it also has like you can fly on the flying Nimbus, and it turns into a shooter like game. It's so good. Like if you want to experience the Dragon Ball story, well, like very, very, very bare minimum Dragon Ball story, this is a great game. It's so much fun. It's I would say this is a must play Game Boy Advance game. Easy 9 out of 10. Rick and Morty Virtual Reality. I've been meaning to play this for years. Finally got to playing it just out on a whim. It sucked, honestly. Like for the time, I think it was like 2016, maybe 2017. I don't quite remember. It was early VR days, basically. It was very generic. It wasn't funny like the show was supposed to be. It felt almost, I don't want to say half-butted, but it just wasn't what it could have been. I feel like it could have, like, with the characters and the VR, I feel like it could have gone further than what it did. I'm going to drop it to a 5 out of 10. It just wasn't funny. And the gameplay, I feel like I'm being a little mean towards it because it also was in the early days of VR. But I've played some early day VR games, and there were some good ones. So, yeah, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Ooh, okay, here's another early day VR game. Nowhere near as early, but still early. Zero Caliber VR. Me, Cyclonic Boy, and Junkmar played this one. I would not have liked this if I didn't play it with them, to be honest. I wouldn't have disliked it, but I would not have liked it as much as I did. Because, like, we played through the whole campaign, blasted through it, did not learn any of the story. I have no clue what the story was, but we blasted through it. It was fun. No joke, the saving grace of this game is the private matches between friends. Like, it's really cool they had a campaign, but, like, when you're playing co-op and you're not really paying too much attention to it, I can't have an opinion there. But the private matches were so much fun, because it was like Call of Duty private matches, but what gave it its oomph of what made it special is that you could Spider-Man climb on anything. Like, you could climb a wall, you could hang from the ceiling. It was so cool. It was such a unique mechanic that it wasn't really like, I'm sure it was marketed, but it wasn't like, I think they could have aimed the game towards having this mechanic, like designed it more specifically for it. I think it would have been awesome. Like I don't know, it could have had a completely different theme if they did, like Spider-Man with guns, basically. It was cool. It was a lot of fun, great for private matches and all that. I would only recommend playing it with friends. On itself, I would give it like a 5 out of 10, but with friends, easy 7 and maybe 7.5 out of 10. I'm gonna say 7 out of 10 just for consistency's sake. Mega Man the Power Battle, I remember playing this at my local pizza shop all the time with family, and like it was really cool to play this because I got it on the Capcom Arcade Stadium or whatever it's called, and I saw it on sale for like 99 cents or something along those lines. I was like, oh man, I want to play that. It does not hold up by itself. It is not a game you should play by yourself or really at home. It's more of it's really only fun if you play it at an arcade. It's fine for what it is. And it's like, I mean, it was fine. Like, it's exactly what you'd expect from an arcade game in the sense of it's unfair, it bullies you, it tries to drain you of every quarter you own. Playing it in the sense of in home with infinite coins and all that, to where it feels like you can kind of just cheese your way through, it kind of loses a lot of its luster. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna keep that 6.5 because I really love the art in the game. It's a very visually pleasing game. So 6.5 out of 10. Okay, honestly, so Buffet Night, I shouldn't have reviewed it, to be honest, because it was just a stupid game jam game that took me like 30 minutes to beat. I don't know why. I think I just wanted to fluff out my my list for this year, so I put it in there. It's fine. It was like an RPG Maker game almost. The pixel art was nice. The story was kind of stupid. It was a silly game. I 100%ed it, I believe. I don't know. I guess I didn't. I would have said I 100%ed it. It was fine. Nothing crazy. I don't really have enough to say about it. Because it was a game jam game, I'm not going to re-evaluate its rating. I'll just keep it a 6 out of 10. Again, not huge into the vulgarity of humor and all that. Sometimes it sticks out, but the humor for this game did not do it for me. But everything else about it, the fact that it was so South Park: The Stick of Truth, the fact that it was so accurate to the show's art style, and just the writing, it was on par. It felt like you were playing the show, was really fun. And the RPG mechanics, like, I don't like turn-based RPGs all that much. It had like that Paper Mario feel to it, which was really fun. So yeah, 8 out of 10. I don't have a lot to say about it. It took me a while to beat this game though. Like, I think it was like I got like 36 hours into this game. I did a lot of the side quests. I almost 100%ed it, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So 8 out of 10 I feel is good. I typically don't review Roblox games, but because this had a story that was like 3 or 4 hours long, and I think it was like 2 or 3 hours long actually. And this had a start to finish story. I figured it was okay to add into this. So this was kind of like one of those testing games. It was a parody of a testing game to where you go down the line, you try different things to see how it plays out. And like it's kind of point and click, but you're walking around the whole time and just seeing what interacts with what and how you can progress. It was one of those. I don't remember a lot about it, but the fact that it was made by a single guy is impressive, and it was pretty detailed for what it was. The boss fight was really cool at the end. That one was like a 3D platformer action segment at the end. That was pretty exciting. I'll give it I think I'm gonna, because I don't remember it, I think it may be a little unfair on his end, but I'm gonna drop it down to a 7 out of 10 just because I don't remember a lot about it. And I spent a good chunk of time on that, so I feel like I would have remembered it if I did. But I remember the writing being silly and very parody-like. Alright, on to Spider-Man on the PS1. This was a good game. This was the one made by Neversoft, the guys who made Tony Hawk and all that. Besides the controls being a little clunky, and that was just kind of due to the time it was made in, such a fun game. Like, this is a game any Spider-Man fan should play, I think. It was very cinematic for the time. Like, maybe it's just me not remembering games from that era all that well, because I didn't play a lot of PS1 games because I was an N64 kid. But it was very cinematic. It was cool to see the story out play out and the animation and all that. The gameplay itself was also a lot of fun. Story, I don't know. It was like I don't really have anything negative to say about it. It was a lot of fun. 7.5 out of 10 for sure. And then on to the regular show. Regular show Mordecai and Rigby in 8-Bit Land. This game had a ton of potential. This was made by Way Forward, I believe. These guys, they make so many good games. Like they make the Shantae games and Mighty Switch Force, stuff like that. I believe Mutant Muds as well. They could have made something really awesome here. They took a great premise to where you could swap between Mordecai and Rigby. I don't want to go too deep here, but you could play as Mordecai and Rigby, and they had different abilities, and like those different abilities could be used in each world, introduce a new ability. I'm going too deep into it. Anyways, it took a great premise, and then they didn't execute it very well. You could tell it was a budget title that they were just trying to pump out fast. They probably didn't have a big time frame to make it, and it just did not. Did not use a lot of regular show. Like there was no character of regular show in it other than the characters being there. There was nothing regular show about this game, and it sucked because it could have been something special. Gameplay wise though, I'll keep it a 6.5 out of 10. The boss fights drove me up the wall. They were hard. Especially some of the later end game ones, and it was buggy too. You know, actually I think I'll drop it to a 6 out of 10 just because of how buggy and frustrating some of it was near the end. 6 out of 10 I still think is valid. If you're a regular show fan, you're not missing anything crazy, but it's still fun if you want to. This game sucks. This game genuinely just sucks. It was not fun even a little bit. Like I liked it at first, like the premise was interesting, but the execution was just sucky. It was like the graphics were nice, and that's kind of it. I don't really have any. It sucks that Knuckles hasn't gotten a game since, because I feel like Knuckles could benefit from having an awesome game, but this is not one. It sucks. 3 out of 10. So Resident Evil 4 in VR. This is not the remake, but the original on the MetaQuest. It's good. It's you can definitely tell that the game was not intended to be played in VR, because sometimes the zombies just, they're easy to bully, especially with a knife, and you're so mobile in the VR version that you have such an unfair advantage. But that's fine, you know, you can get past that for the most part. I mean, I don't really have a lot to say. It was a great game. It played in VR. Like I want to see, it drives me up the wall that more developers are not just taking their old games like this and putting them in VR. You would make a bajillion dollars if you were smart and did that, but for some reason developers don't want to do that, so fans are having to do it and mod it themselves, and they're just essentially sucking money out of these developers' wallets that they could be doing for very low effort. Anyways, side tangent aside, this was a good game. I don't think it's worth getting a Quest for by any means. Like, if you have a VR headset for something else, or you want to get it strictly for PC, don't bother with a Quest. It's not a Quest exclusive. It's not worth a Quest exclusive, but it's still fun. You know, it's definitely a great game. 8.5 out of 10 is still fitting. Man, this one was so disappointing. I played this one growing up as a kid at my church a lot, and it was a lot of fun. Crash Twinsanity. I remember thinking, like, oh, when I see people online talking about it, hating on it, I'm like, oh, no, they're just a bunch of haters. People are just saying that because they didn't like it. Nah, it's still really good. Like, so much of it is great. It's very cool how they tell the story and how it all plays out, but it fails miserably in the sense that it's just so buggy. Like, if it wasn't so sloppily put together, I think it could have been great, but the frustration of all these little things, like you couldn't skip cutscenes, that's not really a bug, but that's a huge factor that drove me nuts. If you died, you have to watch the same cutscenes over and over. That was super obnoxious. And the bugs and the collision were just so crappy. It really brings it down. It could have been an 8.5 out of 10 that got dragged down to a 6.5. And I would love to see a remake of this game, or a remaster. Maybe a remaster instead of a remake. I think a remaster would be better. But it's a great game that's bogged down horribly by just poor optimization and bugs and little quality of life features that would have helped a lot. 6.5 out of 10. Tenchu Stealth Assassin. This was a fun game. I had to save scum a lot to beat it within, like, you know, to where I wasn't wanting to play it for 50 hours straight to get through certain segments, because like there was a lot of there wasn't enough save points for me to like want to justify replaying the same stage over and over. That's just obnoxious to me. Like, I'm typically not one for save scumming too much, but when it comes to games like this, like this, I hate using this as an example, but it was a Dark Souls of the time kind of deal. Combat was a ton of fun. It was cool to see the story unfold, even if it wasn't all that much. I don't have a lot to say. It was an 8 out of 10 for sure. Like, I want to play the sequel. I plan to stream the sequel probably at some point. This is stupid. So I did this as a joke after beating Tenchu, I believe. I played it just because it was American Idol. Honestly, it's not a bad rhythm game. If they gave it like maybe 15 more frames or made it at least 25 frames instead of 15 frames per second, it could have been great. It could have been a really fun rhythm game. And I would have eaten it up as a kid. I probably wouldn't have thought twice about how bad the frame rate was. It was fun. It was cool. Well, okay, it wasn't cool. It had some cheesy song choices, and I'm sure maybe it was good song choices for the time. They weren't originals. They were all covers, I believe. But for what it was, I enjoyed it, even though it was stupid. Transformers Prime on the Wii U. I got the Wii U version specifically because it was the only HD version, because the other versions were on the Wii, the DS, and the 3DS. I wanted the HD version, so I played it on the Wii U. The story was essentially just a longer version of one of the show's episodes, which was pretty cool. The combat was crazy repetitive, and I feel like it could have been used more, but you could tell that the people that worked on it were putting effort into it. They weren't halfway trying. There was effort. That 6.5 out of 10 is fitting. I feel like I would have loved if they had more time to work on it. They could have like done more with it, but they just didn't. So 6.5 out of 10. So this was similar to the buffet night one. This is another goofy one. I don't know why I don't know why I added this one, but it's fine. Meteor 60 seconds. It's kind of it's kind of like crap, what was there was another one I said. I'm having my brain turned off. It's kind of like, it's kind of like get a drink at 3 a.m. in the sense of you walk around and just do things to see it happen and see how it plays out. It's kind of in the same vein, but more straightforward than the other one. I don't really have a lot to say about it. I mean, for what it is a 7 out of 10. If I were to rate it as a game as a whole, like not for what it was, I'd give it like a 6 out of 10. But for what it is, it's a 7 out of 10, if that makes sense. I am not one for trashing indie developers. They typically don't deserve it. But Woodle Tree Adventures Deluxe, apparently, I didn't see the deluxe there, was not good. It was very low effort. Like, it felt like somebody slapped together like a student project and then sold it for like money for some reason. I mainly played it because I wanted to play the sequel, which I haven't gotten around to playing the sequel yet. The concept is cute. It's a very simple, 3D platformer. You jump and you collect things. You can get weapons to attack. It's fine. There's nothing to write home about. It's a 3.5/10. There's 3.5 out of 10. There's really no point in paying more attention to it than that. So Heavy Rain, I saw people hating this game for the longest time, like making fun of it, typically for the Jason line that happens in the beginning. I liked it. I thought the story was good. There was a few parts that kind of fell apart near the end because it seemed like due to failure on my end, like I failed a mini game, so I didn't get full context of a story element, which was kind of stupid. But it's fine. It's fine. Overall, I really like the story. It was cool to see it unfold. I really like Quantum Dreams games. People hate on them, I'm sure, for some semi-valid reasons. I don't know the reasons, but I see people hate on them all the time. I like them. Don't care. 8 out of 10, maybe a little generous, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm gonna keep it because I don't feel like thinking past that. The Walking Dead Michonne, it was not what a Michonne game should have been, to be honest. Like, I don't know, it was so out of left field, like in the sense of from the Telltale games themselves. It was just a random mini-series they did, which could have been really cool, but I don't know, it's just, the action was awesome, but the story itself was not what I wanted from a Michonne game. I don't know where they pulled the story. It's like, it could have been any character. It didn't have to be Michonne. They just kind of chose Michonne for some reason, I guess. But I don't know. I don't think it was a story meant for Michonne all that well. It was fine, though, I guess. 6.5 out of 10 is still fitting because the action was great. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Back from the Sewers. I mean, this was it's frustrating. It was hard. The graphics were nice, but it was sometimes the characters blended into the background a little bit. I played this specifically on the Cowabunga collection on my Switch, and I played it in like, I don't know, like 40 minutes or something like that. I save scummed a bit, I'm not gonna lie. It was fun though. Sorry, I did not save scum with this one. I thought I did. I think I did the hardcore mode or something like that. I could be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure I did not. 6 out of 10. I think that's fine. I think that's fitting. It's a Game Boy game. It was like a fun little action platformer. Fun for what it was. It was hard though. This was a fan-made game. New Super Mario Land. It was the Game Boy game made on the SNES, or playable on the SNES, with new Super Mario Bros. DS graphics, which was interesting. Besides like the constant glitching, it was like it wasn't very well optimized, and it was a little messy here and there. As a fan game, 7.5 easy. As a game itself, I mean, like Super Mario Land is a flawed title on its own, so it was a little bit of a hassle to get through on its own, but it was fun. It was fun. I feel like that 6.5 is still valid as the game itself. X-Men Origins Wolverine Uncaged Edition. Okay, if you play this game, you gotta play the Uncaged Edition, because that's where the violence and the gore comes from, and I feel like Wolverine just is so fitting for that. Like, this is a great game. It does not deserve the movie that it's connected to, but the game itself is awesome. It gets a little repetitive here and there, especially like after 8 hours in, but it's still a lot of fun. The RPG elements of leveling up and like earning more skills as you go, and having some of the being able to swap out abilities is so cool. And then earning costumes, you could get like the OG costume, the movie costume, I believe. You could get his brown and yellow costume. It was super cool. There's only like 4 or 5 costumes, I think, but it was so fun. This was a great game. 8.5 out of 10. Easy. I love the experimentation they did, and they brought in some characters. Like they brought in crap, I'm forgetting his name. The guy with the cards. I'm having a total, my brain just turned off for a second. Gambit. They brought in Gambit and the Blob, and it was pretty cool. And the Deadpool fight at the end was way better than the one in the movie. It still wasn't great, but it was better than the movie. 8.5 out of 10 for sure. Battle Circuit, I mean, right off the bat, I barely remember a thing off this game. I mean, it was a typical arcade beat 'em up. It was fine for what it was. Had some nice graphics for the most part. I'm going to drop it to a 6.5 because I just don't remember the experience. It took me like 30 minutes to beat, I think. So, I mean, understandably so. It was back in August. All right, Ape Out. This is a fun game right here. Ape Out, it takes like 2 to 3 hours to beat, I think. You just blast through this. It's like try and try again kind of gameplay, to where you got to learn how to maneuver through the environments. It's so stylish and fun. It's just it's a good time. Get it while it's on sale though, because personally I don't think the price at full price is worth it. No hate towards the developers, of course, because get that bag, but it just the asking price for it wasn't worth it to me. But the gameplay itself is awesome. A lot of replay value in it. 8 out of 10. This is Sega Sonic the Hedgehog. This is the one that had Mighty and Ray in it, to where you're supposed to play with the ball and you roll. I played it on a website emulator, so it's like I didn't get the full experience, so I feel like my rating here is a little invalid, but I'm gonna say it's a 6.5. It was fun. The graphics were pretty. The music was nice. The controls were broken even on the website I was playing on, so I was like, I feel like I can't leave a valid opinion here. I'm just gonna say 6.5. I feel like it would be way more fun with the controls though if I played with proper controls. Ignoring the political crap, Super Bernie World is a fun game. It's a good Super Mario Bros. Clone that has like the physics are pretty spot on. It's not as slippery though, which is cool. And the levels, while short, are really fun. I 100% of this game. I don't remember how long it took me, but I blasted through it, and my classes got canceled for the day, so I was just looking for something to play through real quick. I was like, yeah, Super Bernie's World. That seems like a good thing to spend my time doing instead of schoolwork. So I blasted through this in like an hour or two, and it was fun. It was like it's a good game, honestly. And there's a DLC you can buy, or maybe an independent game, I don't remember. That's an exact recreation of this game, except it's just with different sprite work towards non-political. It's funny. It's a good game. I recommend playing it. You can download it for free on Steam. All right, this one was a short experience, and I feel like I didn't get the full experience. I'm not gonna lie. I played this while in a Discord call. I feel like I should have played this on my own time, as I didn't get the full experience because it wasn't very scary. I feel like it may have been scarier if I played it off of a Discord call. It was fine. I like the cute Animal Crossing aesthetic. I don't have a lot to say. It was pretty forgettable. Because I didn't fully experience it the way I should have, though, I'm going to keep it a 6.5. Just leave my opinion at that, because I don't remember it. Shadow Generations. I haven't played Sonic Generations yet. Like, I played it a little bit as a kid, but I haven't played the remaster of it, and I have never beaten it, so this is just the Shadow Generations aspect. Easily the best boost formula game I've played. Like, I don't like the boost formula games all that much. They're all just kind of samey to me. I'm sick of them. I wish they would get rid of the gameplay style. But Shadow Generations was the most fun I've ever had with it. It played great. The story was awesome. I wish there was a little bit more creativity with the music, but overall it was awesome. And I'm devastated they did not give him a gun. But the powers, the Doom powers they gave Shadow were a lot of fun to use. And besides the stages being a little repetitive to go through like multiple times because there are so many cutscenes during them, overall it was awesome. It's a must-play Sonic game in my opinion, or Shadow game technically. Easy 8.5 out of 10. Honestly, in the movie DLC was kind of lame. I'm not gonna lie. It should have been more. I should have been able to at least play as the movie DLC skin outside of the movie DLC stage. So this right here, Swap Force, this was given away for free by the devs. It was a Wii U game exclusive for the longest time, and then they randomly brought it over to Steam. They're like, hey guys, Wii U exclusive now on Steam. I feel like this would have been an awesome party game if I had people to play it with, but I did not. So I played through the single player mode, and it wasn't even half-baked because over half the cutscenes weren't animated all the way, and like you could tell a lot of the voice lines were like first takes kind of deal. So it's hard to properly judge this game for the sense that it was not the full experience. You're mainly meant to play this with multiplayer. I played through the single player game. It was a waste of time, honestly, but the concepts and the ideas are a lot of fun that I could see being really good for the multiplayer scene, at least. 5.5 out of 10, because I feel like it'd be better with the multiplayer. And then, alright, this is the Typing of the Dead. No joke, I've been wanting to play this game for years, but it never went down on Steam. It was always super pricey. And then randomly it went on, like, dirt cheap, I think. It was really cheap for some reason, so I snagged it real fast. I did not expect this game to be as vulgar as it was. It was dropping F-bombs, like, every 5 seconds. There was, like, nudity all the time. Well, not nudity, but very close to nudity. I was like, hot dang. I didn't know what I was getting into. I thought I was just playing a zombie shooter with typing instead of shooting. But overall, it's a really fun game. The story was absolutely insane. It was cool that there was a story in the first place. I didn't think there would be that either. The words were challenging. Like, it wasn't like very generic words. It was cool that it had Steam Workshop support to where you could download other people's dictionaries they created for the game. I got all the DLC too with it, so that was also really cool. It added a lot of variety in there. And the cool thing is you can even play I'm forgetting what the original game is, the House of the Dead Overkill, but you can play it with mouse and point and click, or if you're smart, you can connect a Wii remote via Bluetooth to your computer, and then you can play a Wii shooter like that. It's really cool. Overall though, I liked it. It was a fun typing experience. I wish I'd known it was as vulgar as it was when I went into it. I'm not as much of a prude as I sound like I am when I complain about the vulgarity. It's just I wasn't expecting it. Yeah, it was a good game. 7.5 out of 10. Squirrel Stapler. It's exactly what it sounds like. You're a squirrel hunter who's going around and killing as many squirrels as possible. I won't tell you the story because it's very much one you just have to experience yourself or see online at least. It wasn't much of a game, to be honest. It was more of a demo experience, like something you would find on itch.io that wasn't finished. And that it was stupid, honestly. It was really stupid. I had fun for a little bit, and the sound design was great, but that's all I can really say. It was very, after the third day, there's 5 days in total. After the third day, I was like, all right, I'm done. This is boring now. It was fine, though. It was fun for what it was, I guess. 5.5 out of 10. I can't go higher. I can't go lower. So, yeah. 5.5 out of 10 for Squirrel Stapler. And that is all the games. That was a much shorter list than last year for the video games. Now we're going to our last and final subject, podcasts and books. Specifically audiobooks, because I can't see books, so I listen to them all. That's just how it is, you know? I was listening to a ton of books at the start of this year because I was doing painting and a lot of final art projects for my not my final semester, but my finals for the semester. So I was listening to a ton of books while painting and all that. And then just like throughout the year, I just stopped and then suddenly picked it back up near the very end. I listened to a lot of kid books, to be honest, and I want to get better about that. I need to listen to more adult-oriented books, which I did near the end, but you'll see what I mean when we go through them. And again, these are books and podcasts because I can't see books. I can only listen to them because most books are just too small printed for me to see. Alright, and the first book was Five Nights at Freddy's, The Twisted Ones. I'll be honest, I don't remember any of the Five Nights at Freddy books that I've read, or quote-unquote read. Reading it's the third book. I do remember liking the third book. I just don't remember any of it, to be honest. It all kind of happened. I'm just gonna give it a 7 out of 10 because I can't say anything else. I'm gonna drop it down by that 0.5 because I don't remember it. It's probably nothing on the quality. It was a long time ago, you know. Five Nights at Freddy's: The Fourth Closet. This was another anthology one. I think it was. I know Matt Pat spoiled this one for me. Maybe I don't remember, actually. Again, I don't remember, so we're just dropping it to a 7 out of 10, because I can't have an opinion past that. I don't remember. The Flash: Escape the Midnight Circus. This was an audio, or sorry, not an audiobook. This was a podcast / radio drama. That's what all these podcasts are. They're radio dramas. They're not directly, they're like stories being told through audio format only. This one was, I love, The Flash is really cool, but this story was so generic. I've heard it a billion times before. It's just, they did nothing original with it. The voice acting was okay, and like, that's all I really got. And it was goofy, but I don't remember all that much besides it being incredibly generic, so we're just gonna keep that 5 out of 10 and move forward. The Riddler: Secrets in the Dark, another radio drama. This was a Spotify exclusive, apparently. It was cool to kind of, like, the Riddler, we got a new perspective on the Batman villain. It was cool to kind of hear that play out, but it felt like they took this concept and then just stayed exactly where they were. They did not try to run with it or be creative. They did exactly what you would think they would do with it, with no crazy twists, honestly. It was fine, it just wasn't what it could have been. That 6 out of 10, I feel, still stays. I believe this is part of the same series, Batman Unburied. I was too vague with my review, so I can't remember too much what I said here. But, yeah, it kind of fell flat. I remembered liking it, but again, it was too long ago, so I don't remember. We're gonna go 6.5 out of 10 because I don't remember jack about this one. The Harley Quinn one, this one genuinely sucked. It was so generic. Harley Quinn and the Joker sound mine. Yeah, it was just, I don't know. They just weren't trying with this one. It felt like it was so predictable, and like, you know how like anything Harley Quinn modern day is like trying to do Suicide Squad Harley Quinn rather than OG Harley Quinn. So it feels so incredibly forced and not the way the character should be written. That's what this podcast was. From the little bit I remember about, that's what it was. We're gonna go to a 5 out of 10 because I barely remember anything about it other than not liking the portrayal of Harley Quinn. Now we're getting to the real media, fellas. We're getting into Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I listened to like the first 5 books, I think. They were all across the same, like they all kind of meshed together. I forgot how mean his family is. We're just gonna skip right through these because I feel the same about all of them. But all of them were just, his family is so mean. All the characters are so mean. I forgot how hateful they all are. It's like, it's fun to read or re-listen to them. And honestly, these books work surprisingly well as audiobooks. Yeah, the pictures are better, but they translate pretty well to audiobooks. I was surprised by that. Same for Roderick Rules. It's about the same quality, I'd say. Like, it had a good payoff at the end. That's kind of it. I don't have a lot to say about it. 7.5 out of 10. Again, 7.5 out of 10. I just don't have a lot to say that's different about any of the other ones. Like, I was getting kind of grumpy listening to these, I will say, because the characters in these books were just so mean to each other. It was making me upset listening to them, I guess. Like, after listening to so many after another, I was like, all right, you guys are mean. You're making me angry. And I think this is the last one I read. Same as the other 3 is they're all just kind of the exact same. You start to build a tolerance towards the family, like I say here. But other than that, it's like, whatever. 7.5 out of 10. Oh, Hatchet. This is a classic book. This was a good one. Like, it was interesting hearing this kid, like, think his process through. And it's got to be hard to write a story as, like, a single character throughout the whole thing, almost. Like, there's a few characters at the beginning, but, like, basically it's the kid the entire time just thinking to himself. And it's got to be hard to write a book that's just internal monologue and what's happening externally. It was a good book. 7.5 out of 10 for sure. This right here, I don't care about celebrities. Celebrities I could not give half a hoot about. Whatever, you're just some person who acts. But listening to Jeanette McCurdy's story was really interesting. She's a good writer too. Like, she knows how to lead up to what's happening and how things play out. It was a great book. I would really recommend listening to this. Even if you don't care about the actor or know anything about the show she came from, I still think it's a good read. I don't have a lot to say about that other than that. It's an 8.5 out of 10 for sure. For Seconds, this is a book by the guy who made Scott Pilgrim. I actually own this book physically. I read it with a magnifier. I went out of my way to read it. The art is so nice. I love his usage of colors and just the way he draws his characters and the styles he gives them. It's such a good one. It's a little generic in the story department. Like, I feel like I've heard this concept before, but I don't know how, but it just kind of feels like it's been done before, you know? But overall, like the characters, interactions, the dialogue, it's funny, it's cute. The art style is 100% the selling point for me because it's so unique with the way he does colors and stuff. I tried to mimic it at one point, I couldn't do it very well, but it's a good it was a good one. I'd love to see this get like an animated movie someday. That would be awesome. Or at least like, I don't know. It's a good read. 8.5 out of 10 for sure. Guys, this was a dark book. Confessions, without telling you too much about it, this is very much a story that is does not hold back on like nobody is safe kind of deal. Like they are just full swinging. Anybody can die. Anybody is willing to do anything necessary. Like it is crazy. It gets a little, the way it tells the story is unique because it tells the perspective from a few different people's POVs and you get to see it unfold from different ways. But because of that, it avoids being repetitive, which you think like when you see the same story told out through different points of view, it can get a little boring, right? But they divert that a little bit to where it doesn't really get that crazy feeling of repetitiveness. It's a good read. I really recommend this. Confessions by Kanei Minora. I believe it takes place in like the early 2000s Japan. I could be wrong on the early 2000s. They have internet is why I say early 2000s. But for sure it takes place in Japan. It's a good read. I really recommend it. Just be aware it's dark and it is not a happy book. Good read for sure though. 8.5 out of 10. And that sums up every piece of media I have consumed throughout the years. I appreciate you guys sticking around and listening to me yap about the kind of stuff I like to watch and read and experience. I plan to do this again for 2025. Just follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky, or join my Discord server, and you can see everything I review, and you can talk about it and stuff like that. Links are down below if you want to do any of that. Overall, I think the media I consumed this year had a lot of variety. I would have liked to touch on a few more genres, a few more, just more outside of the typical IPs I know. I want to experience stuff that doesn't just have continuing universes or IPs that I've known since I was 5, you know? I want to broaden my horizons, watch more indie stuff and things like that. I plan to. I don't know if I will, but that's the idea. I definitely want to play some longer form games this year. I haven't played any long form games in a while. I keep playing all these little short burst games that just, are like they're fun experiences, but I need to get deep into something. But yeah, thanks for watching, y'all.